Welcome back to the channel. I wonder what that was then. Invaded by a squirrel. Hey, Andy here. Just a bit of an intro into this next virtual down the pub chat I had on Sunday evening, which was open to all members. And I really wasn't, as always, as the car goes by, as always, I was really never sure whether anyone's going to turn up or not. But yeah, it turned out to be quite different for a change. But we just want to give a shout out to, I went to my local coin shop to do some stuff with them on Saturday, and I just want to give a shout out to them. It's they're based in Stratford upon Avon. They don't sponsor this at all, but the reason why I'm giving them a shout out, they really looked after me doing what I was doing. Steve, Chris, thank you very much, at Knights Bullion in Stratford upon Avon. I'll put the details in the description of this video anyway, but yeah, if you want to buy, sell, build that relationship up with your local coin dealers, if you've got one, if you're lucky enough to have one nearby, because it does pay, it really does, as another car goes by. I've got a bit of a private, along the back here there's a private road that goes down to some places, and they're a caravan park actually, and a sewage works, believe it or not. So every now and then you get some cars go by. Anyway, that's Steve and Chris, thank you very much, that was really cool. But while I was there, I met a customer in there that come in with his children. Drew, I think he subscribed to the channel. Really nice to meet you, fella. Wonderful conversation we had. It was like a bit of a coffee morning there, so it was really good. Anyway, that's that. Shout out to everyone, thank you very much. So this this virtual down the pub, anyway, I wasn't sure everyone turned up, but Camel turned up, bless him, he always does. We had a quick pop in from Goldie's Gold and Silver, which was nice. He stayed for a little while, but yeah, had an amazing chat with Camel. Spoke about all sorts of stuff, bit of silver, bit of gold, you know. Then it went way out there, and yeah, that was a really interesting interesting conversation. So yeah, thanks Camel, really enjoyed that, and I look forward to doing more of those, dude. That was really interesting. Anyway, take good care, enjoy, have a cup of tea, put your feet up. It's a long one. Bye. We are live, well, not live, recording Sunday, another, this is episode 7 down the pub chat. Cheers everybody. As always, I have no idea. Well, I think Camel's going to jump on later, and possibly Cobra might jump on later. I have no idea if anyone else is. It'll be a surprise if it happens. So welcome, another down. Sorry about last week. Couldn't make it last week. We was out. The whole family had a bit of a Christmas meal, which was absolutely lovely, and I didn't get back in time to do a recording. But that's Christmas this time of year, and it was really nice to be out with the family. Very nice, actually, to be fair. That was good. So I was kind of hoping that tonight we I think on the last down the pub chat we talked mainly about Bitcoin and everything around Bitcoin and some other stuff, but I thought I put out a little post to the members. Would you like to do a chat about silver and gold, around silver and gold, on the down the pub chat, which is obviously happens today. So hopefully we can have some conversation if anybody turns up. Great. If not, it'd just be me talking about my perspective on it. But hopefully we get a bit more of a broader perspective on it a bit later. So, well, yeah, it was interesting. Quite a few people said yes, they'd love to have a chat about silver and gold. And also, generally, I put out a post. I put out a post asking subscribers as well, or anyone that saw it on the channel. To be fair, it was a poll that. Let me have a look. It was a poll. How many of you stack precious metals, gold and silver? 54% yes, 42% no. That's almost, it's just over half. And 4% said I don't care. Love that. I don't know why I put I don't care, but it's quite cool. So obviously, yeah, a very low percentage don't care. But obviously over half of the people that I presume saw that follow the channel and the channel content, do stack silver and gold, which is interesting. Very interesting indeed. And I think, yeah, 88% of the people that answered, would you like to take part in a dedicated silver and gold chat on a Down the Pub style pod sometime? 88% said yes. So that's cool. Only one person said no. So it was great. So here it is. This is what this down the. Hopefully, it won't be just all about that, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Where's that 2 weeks gone? So much has happened. I think I left the last podcast saying hopefully we get over 100,000 on Bitcoin, and yeah, in that time period, it's happened, which is amazing. Am I surprised? Really? Yes and no. Really, it's an interesting one for me to answer. I kind of in the back of my mind thought, like on most of the journey, really, just thought to myself, will it happen? Will it not happen? And I try not to concentrate on the price of stuff. If I'm interested in an asset, very interested, and I've done my homework, then I, 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 I more look at how much of it I can get. So, but obviously, we're all fiat currency, greedy little monkeys deep down. So we obviously watch the price, but yeah, and yeah, that's just been hovering around that mark since it did it, really, up and down, and boys club playing with it all. Interesting to watch, though. It's gonna. I find it also fascinating. With silver and gold, that yeah, that's another ball game altogether. Obviously, gold has had a bit of a surge this year. Why? There's probably many reasons why. Maybe that'll come up in tonight's chat. But it's interesting. I For anyone that doesn't know, I spent ooh, I started my YouTube journey with a channel called Creative Precious Metals, and that was basically 3 years ago. I think it was now. Getting on nearly 3 years ago. Was it? Don't know. Not sure. All goes so quick. But almost 2 years ago for sure. Anyway, that was just to document my journey of getting into gold and silver, which the education from learning about money, predominantly from my deep dive into Bitcoin, allowed me to understand a little bit about gold and what I potentially thought I saw in it and why I would invest in it, and the same with silver. So yeah, I spent quite a while going down that rabbit hole as well. So it's been quite a journey. Quite a journey indeed, actually. But I don't particularly want to talk about that journey too much, just in case we can have a better conversation with people in. But yeah, it's been interesting, and like the Bitcoin journey, it's been very up and down, very up and down. But yeah, I've learned a lot, learned a hell of a lot, and it always comes back to that financial aspect of everything, for sure. I love the fact that sometimes I don't know whether anyone's going to turn up or not, because it's like how you would be if you normally went down a pub. Is anyone will anyone show up or not? Might have to end up talking to the cat, maybe rambling on about some sort of stuff. It's difficult, really, because I used to do a thing called Whiskey Wednesday, which I've mentioned before, and I just used to come on, and I was quite happy to talk for an hour about things, about my journey and what I've been up to and what's been going on. Now I'm doing this. I don't want to. I don't want to get into too much me rambling on about stuff, and then someone else pops in and we start again, type thing. It's really weird. It's so strange. And also at the back of my mind, it's like, will anyone show? Will they not? It's very funny. It's really weird, really strange. I did start a little bit earlier this week, 6:30, um, which may be a bit too early. I should have maybe just put it on to start it at 7, like I have been. Anyway, great. I had just very quickly talk about the channel. We're over 800 subscribers now. I know I don't sort of particularly get too het up about subscribers, but it's it's an important part of the growth part of the channel, because obviously we want to attract people in so we can dialogue more. Hopefully build up membership. We're at 15 members now, which is great. Thank you. Pardon me. And I hope that dynamic grows going forward. It seems to. The last two down the pub chats have been very well received. Over 1,000 views on both. And considering we've only got 800 subscribers, that means some of you aren't subscribing. So you've got to subscribe to the channel. You naughty boys and girls. Please. No, it all helps, but we're in no rush at all. Absolutely no rush. The important thing for me is to keep making available a space for people to come and talk, which was amazing, which has been amazing. I'm really proud and pleased for everybody that's taken part. It's great. Love it. Hello, matey.
Hello, all right?
Yeah, I'm glad you showed up. I've been bored to tears.
All by your lonesome.
Yeah. This is like a show up at a pub where no one else comes. And I was sitting there playing around with stupid avatars whilst it was on pause because I'm thinking, will anyone show up or not? You right?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine, mate. Thank you very much. All the better for someone coming in.
Happy to be here, mate.
Yeah, it's really cool, mate. You had a good day.
Yeah, we went to my mum's house and bought a Christmas tree and took that round and set that up. The whole family was there,
Yeah.
and then we had a roast dinner and a few drinks. So yeah, lovely.
Yeah, I had a nice roast beef dinner today.
Oh,
Really
lovely.
nice. Yeah, it's really cool, isn't it? Typical. Geo sent me a message a little while ago and said, he wanted to come on, but he's not coming on because the weather's really nice and he's out in his garden doing some stuff. And I thought, I'll send some my way.
Yeah.
Bloody horrible here, mate.
Have you had the wind as well?
Oh yeah, yeah, literally. No, yeah, sorry. Yeah, don't worry, I'm drinking water.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'm safe tonight then.
yeah, you are, mate. Yeah, especially after last time, dude. Where's your Christmas hat?
I've got one on my head, believe it or not.
Have
Wait,
you?
I'll see if I can find it. I don't know how to do it. I'll mess around with it.
Yeah, as I noticed on some of your videos, I thought, he's being quite creative now.
Yeah, I got one on the YouTube and Twitter.
Hmm.
I don't know how to do it, mate.
No, don't worry, I'm playing.
But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's been pretty windy. I bet it was down where you are.
we had it. I checked the Windy app and it had it gusting up to 72 mile an hour.
Wow,
Yeah.
much damage.
Not for me personally.
No.
I took the dog out and I could see some trees had been uprooted. Um,
Yeah,
plenty of branches snapped off.
yeah,
But yeah, touch wood, I've been all right. It seemed to
yeah.
get worse last night actually.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, last night it was really whipping. It was shaking all the windows and stuff. But yeah, it's been all right. So I got away with it. Happy days.
Oh, that's cool. How's Winston? All right?
Yeah, he's got another ear infection.
No,
Yeah, it's a staffy thing, isn't it?
it's
I
gotta
don't
be.
think I don't think the last one. They tell me they're prone to it,
Yeah,
but I don't think the last one fully cleared up. But he's been shaking his head and whatever the last couple of days, so he's got to go
yeah,
vets tomorrow. I was pretty unimpressed last time actually. I took him in there and she had a look at it and put some. She took a swab and put it under the microscope and charged me 150 quid or something.
bloody hell.
Gave him a drop, and then she went, "Bring him back in 4 weeks, and we'll check him out."
Yeah,
So I brought him back 4 weeks later, and she looked in it, and she went, "No, it's still kind of there, but not at an alarming level." And I was like, "Well, okay, thanks."
yeah.
And
It's
then
weird.
yeah, since then it's just, I guess it's just slowly come back. But he's pretty bad for like putting his head all the way under the water when I take him for a walk, pull
Okay.
sticks and stones out of the river and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So I think he just it fills up with river water and gets infected. But
yeah.
but yeah, he's all right. He's not too bad.
Cool.
It's just
Oh,
I don't know if you've ever tried to pin a staffy down to put eardrops in it, but
bad enough trying to do it with a cat.
yeah, cats are pretty vicious.
They
He's
can
not
be.
too bad. He's just really they're really muscular, like
Yeah,
condensed into a small dog,
yeah,
and then obviously you try not to traumatize him
yeah,
because obviously it's your dog. You don't want
yeah,
to upset him.
yeah,
So it's like lots of dangling biscuits and promising him it's going to be okay.
yeah. It's weird, isn't it? You take him to the vet, and the vets just get on with it, don't they?
Yeah, I mean they didn't seem too fussed about it.
Right.
But it was I didn't like the way they were so blasé about it. They were like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, bring him back, we'll see." And then I brought him back, and they were like, "Yeah, still kind of there, but whatever." And I was like, "Well, I'm paying you to fix it. Fix his
Mm,
ear."
mm.
But yeah, it's all right, I guess. I don't know. Hopefully they're gonna. Last time they did a one-time drop that was supposed to last 4 weeks, but I'm gonna ask if they can have the other ones because they seem to work better.
Okay.
We had ones that we put into a day ourselves at home. And they did seem to sort it out. But they tell me with Staffy's ears and they get a lot of nasal problems
Yeah.
as well, apparently. Ours hasn't had that, so that's good. But yeah, weird dogs, man. Weird.
Cute. Yeah, but they're curious little dogs, aren't they? They want to get into everything and
Oh, they're
sticking in.
awesome.
Yeah, sticking noses into. Well, it's like most animals, really. They just go and have a look at this, and you just think, wow. I suppose they can be prone to picking up stuff.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Um my mum's got a whippet and he's fine. He never gets anything wrong with him. Although he
Yeah.
does hurt his paws a lot because he runs really fast.
Yeah.
Gets a lot of sprained ankles.
Why do we get these pets, eh?
I don't know. I couldn't be without him, mate. I've had dogs all my life. I absolutely love them.
Yeah, you was talking, was it on one of your lives I was listening to while I was out and about? And you was talking about your dogs, and I was thinking, crikey, he's had dogs all his life. I didn't realise that.
Yeah, my whole life. Yeah, whole life. Mum's
Oh,
always had them.
yeah,
And all my mates have had them as well. So I've just always been around them.
Yeah.
I think where I live in the country, there's probably because it's country, there's obviously I think more people have them than maybe in a city. For
Yeah.
example, you probably wouldn't get one in a city kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love them to bits. They're awesome, all shapes and sizes and characters. They're also unique as well.
Yeah.
Really, really different.
Yeah. It's cool. They're good company
Yeah, mine is really
as
good.
well, especially for you in your position.
Yeah, yeah.
It's ideal, isn't it?
Yeah, he sits on my lap and watches charts with me. It's brilliant.
You don't sit there going, it's going up.
Yeah.
It's going down, Dad. Get out of there. What are you doing?
He's a lovely dog.
Or
He's
have you
really
trained
nice.
him to go, is it going up? And he goes, "Ruff." Oh, brilliant. That's it, brilliant. Oh, great. How's wife, all right?
Yeah, wife's all right. Yeah, happy
Yeah.
days.
And family generally good?
Um, yeah, all good. Nothing to report really.
Yet,
Um,
yet to think about that one.
yeah, my mum goes away all the time. She's
Yeah.
um she's
Remember you
probably a bit
saying.
old really to be doing the kind of mileage she does, but she
Yeah.
drives hundreds of miles really quite regularly to see all her family and friends and whatever else.
Oh, that's cool.
And so she's
Wow.
only just got back. And then I think she's going to Weymouth on Friday.
All right.
So I always have to think about it because I never really know where she is,
Yeah.
and it's no point keeping track of it because she's always like out and about.
Hence, that's why you get the dog.
Yeah, and I have to look after her dog a lot,
Yeah.
which is no trouble to be fair.
Yeah.
I like having him. He's
Yeah.
really
And they
good to
obviously
mine.
get on okay.
Yeah, well, he's a little older than mine, so they've known each other since mine was a pup.
All right. Okay.
They're best friends. They do a lot of roughhousing, which is cool to watch.
Yeah. Wicked.
Yeah, what's news? What's the news your way, mate?
Oh, news my way. What's new my way from a life point of view? Busy as you know, as it is going to be. Really, still got some decorating to do, which we had a big conversation about today. So I need to crack on and get that done for Christmas. Yeah, work's busy. Not a lot really. Obviously, been doing my investment, always constantly bloody watching stuff and learning and watching new videos. And I've got, as you know, I've got, really curious about stuff. And you just, I don't know, the time goes really quick, dude, doesn't it? And you're just absorbed into, there's just loads. If you want to be absorbed into stuff, you can just be absorbed into stuff. And before you know it, a week goes.
Yep. Yep.
And I can't believe, like, obviously, I couldn't make it last week because of the family get together. But that was 2 weeks when we had the last one, and it's just gone ping,
Yep.
flown by,
Yep.
absolutely flown by. It's mad, it's mad. But I'm getting more chilled, enjoying posting stuff on Twitter, X,
Yep.
my crazy mind.
I've
I'm
been
really,
seeing.
yeah, so cryptic but deep and yeah, it's good fun. I'm enjoying that because that's a great way of expressing yourself in a way. I'm also enjoying what Twitter is to me when I observe it.
Yep.
I just find it mad,
Oh yeah.
absolutely mad. I don't know. It'd be interesting actually. I can ask you a question. Why do you use it? Other than to obviously as a promotional tool for what you're doing.
That is
Or is that the
pretty.
only reason?
Yeah, that is pretty much the only. Well, I'd say there's that for sure. Also, there's a handful of traders that I respect their work greatly,
Yeah.
and they post a lot of stuff to X. Some of them only use X. They don't have YouTube.
Okay.
So I use it to see what they're saying. I've had some very nice experiences there. Met some people, chatted with some people via DMs, and spoke about things really outside the box with them,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. But I think if I didn't have a YouTube channel, I probably wouldn't have it, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
It's a very strange, it's a very strange thing. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I would assume that you're kind of wired into the FinTwit side of it,
What does that mean?
financial Twitter.
Um, when you say wired in, have I had to do something to do that?
No, but so for me, I only really look at stuff that traders post or Bitcoin
Okay.
stuff,
Yeah.
and then it
Yeah.
trains the algorithm to basically only show
Okay.
you that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'm with you. Yeah.
if a non-Bitcoiner or a non-trader was to use Twitter, they'd probably see something completely alien to what I see. If you scroll through my feed, it would literally only be Bitcoin and charts.
Sure.
Basically,
Yeah.
that's all
That
there is.
makes sense.
And I think that corner of Twitter is kind of cool. But yeah, it's kind of weird, man. At the same time, it's weird, and unless you're verified, you get a character limit. I'm not sure how many characters, like a paragraph, isn't it? Something like that. And I think
Yeah.
that actually serves as almost like a tripping point because people just kind of type a message and they don't have enough space or characters to fully elaborate and get their point across.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it leads to, at least I notice this, like miscommunication or misunderstandings, and people come across a certain way, or I misinterpret the way they're coming across, and then I just don't think it's the best way of communicating.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And
hard because I get what you mean now. Sorry to jump in, but because I'm now, because I'm not, is that verified thing, the blue tick?
yeah,
Okay. Because I'm not that. I have to think about what I'm doing and really shorten it.
yeah,
And sometimes that isn't really what I'm trying to say. And then I
yeah.
think, oh, I've got to redo another post. Then I've got to do it. And then I think, oh, shit, I can't be bothered. So it's probably a little bit lost, some of it. Well, some of my tweets are probably totally lost on people.
I also, do you know what else I noticed there, right? And I catch myself slipping into this from time to time. And that is, there's like a conflict of interest almost, maybe for lack of a better term. But you post some stuff there. So say, speaking from my perspective, right? I post some charts or whatever, and the idea is right or the idea is wrong, right? It's a good idea or it's a bad idea, whatever.
Yeah.
But I notice it kind of incentivizes this kind of egotistical "I told you so" culture, where if I want to get more engagement, more followers, more eyes on the YouTube channel, I have to kind of pull up old tweets and go, "Ha, I told you so. I was right about that," right?
Yeah.
And the other thing it does is people pull up a tweet that you got wrong, and they go, "Wow, what do you know? You got this wrong. You said this," and you have to go, "Yeah, okay, I did, but I also said this, this, and this, and this." And then I find myself going, "Why am I convincing this nobody? I don't even know. It might even be a child, right? Like who knows?" And I find that kind of strange because
Yeah.
I also observe it in other people. I observe other people going, "Ha, told you so. Ah, called this 6 months ago. Whatever it is."
Yeah.
And it feels like kind of because you wouldn't interact with people like that in real life, I doubt.
No.
If you did, they'd probably think you're insufferable,
Yep.
right? Like if you're having a conversation in real life and you started being, "Oh, guess what? I was right about this, and I said this, and it turned out to be correct. Guess what else I got right?"
Yeah.
People would be like, "Oh, I don't. Who's this guy?" Right? Like this is an
Yeah.
insufferable guy I don't care about.
Yeah.
But then Twitter seems to incentivize that in order to kind of prove that you know what you're talking about in a sea of people that are just claiming to know what they're talking about.
Yep.
And so I find personally it's kind of hard to get a balance between you know, doing things right, showing that, oh, I had an idea and that was correct, and then not overstepping that boundary to the point where I'm like, no, I am the best. I know what I'm talking about. Like, what do you mean? It just gets a bit of it's a bit of a weird thing, I find.
Yep.
And I find getting that balance is quite hard, like I said. But
I, I can imagine. I sometimes think that these things are designed this way to a degree because it's so easy. And I sit there and I think I read like one of yours or someone else's or what's just on a feed that just pops up, and I read it and I think, okay, no, I really want to engage with that, whether it's positive, negative, whatever. And then I think, why do I want to engage with it?
yeah,
Why did I have that initial, oh, I really need to tell this person, and I don't even know them, what I think.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
think, what are you doing, you berg? You know, but it's that initial, when you flick through, I get it more the more I do it. When you flick through or something appears, because it just automatically appears, it just draws on how you're feeling at the time instantly. and it
Yep.
draws you in. And unless you give yourself like 5 minutes, well, 5, 10 seconds to just think, do I want to engage with that? Why do I even want to respond to that? Why do I want to put my opinion across? What, what, what relevance has it got to anybody?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're drawn in. It's so clever. I think it's really clever because it draws you in to have that probably crazy emotional response to get another crazy emotional response to keep feeding, keep feeding. It's
Yeah,
a
you're
tough.
absolutely right.
It's
It
weird,
definitely,
isn't it?
yeah, it definitely is like a black hole for your energy.
Yeah, yeah. I think we was talking about that the other day, weren't we? On a message or something about how
Yeah.
you can just get totally your energy sucked away from you in technology and people and you can just lose it. You can just totally lose yourself in it all.
Yeah. Something else I experience occasionally on Twitter is someone will misquote me and I'll be like, I didn't say that, I said this. And then they start like going, no, 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 you said this, blah, blah, blah. It goes back and forth a handful of times. And then suddenly I realize they're just trolling me. And I'm like, oh man, I lost. Right, I lost. That's exactly what he wanted. He wanted to get a rise out of me, and he got one. He got 4 or 5
Yeah,
tweets of me trying to be like, "No, I didn't say that."
it's
uh,
weird, isn't it?
yeah, and there's no worse feeling when you're just like, oh man, I'm just getting trolled by some guy that's what he wants to do with his day, just wind up me or
Yeah,
wind up whoever will take the bait, right? And
yeah,
yeah, that's really depressing.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. It's a very weird thing. But you do something I've noticed is you do have to post and you do have to engage if you want your profile to kind of stay relevant. So you do if people write comments and you don't reply ever, then it can only go so far. You kind of got to engage with people and got to make them know that you're really there to enable them to kind of continue to interact with you and blah blah blah. So it's like a really weird thing because originally I just started to post my YouTube videos there and I never
yes,
said anything else. And then I noticed that occasionally if I posted a Bitcoin chart, people seemed to like that. And then if I went back and said, "Oh, look, the Bitcoin call was correct." Even more people were like, well, "Hey, this guy finally someone that knows, right?"
yeah.
And then then you get into the double-edged sword where if you get something wrong, then they can't wait to lynch you for it. So yeah, it's a really weird platform, but it's the only one I got. I don't know about like the other ones, Instagram or TikTok or any of that. I'd imagine they're probably worse, but I don't know. Maybe it's unfair to say that since I don't have them.
I think they're all pretty much designed around the same sort of thing, aren't they? Quick, easy response, get people responding. That's what I like what we're doing with this, because you can't hide from it, can you? You can, if you want to talk, you can talk.
Yep.
You can actually have a proper conversation.
Underrated these days.
It really is. It really is. It really is. It's really interesting because I went to my local coin coin shop yesterday to do some stuff, and he knew I was coming. I went in there. They got me a coffee, and another guy come in with his 3 children, and they're all like, I say children, they're like 20s, 16, that to obviously do whatever. But all of us within, I don't know, the guy that runs the shop said, oh my God, putting you two together is going to be a nightmare because we won't get rid of you out of the shop because he's roughly the same age as me, into his investments, exactly the same as what I'm into. And it turned out what I love. We just had a conversation for about half an hour, speaking to his kids. His kids are right into all this, all the modern stuff from an investment point of view. And I walked out there and thought, oh, well, that was really nice.
Hmm.
Just the conversation, having that conversation, and just having that time every now and then, even when it's unexpected. It's yeah, it's very very fulfilling. I do get a hell of a lot more out of it than typing, texting, using messages. But I'm still guilty because I use it.
Yeah.
I can't help it. It's just
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
because it's there. Because it's if I deleted off my phone and just ignored that, got it out of my consciousness for a couple of days, I'll probably never get back into it. But because it's there, you know it's there.
Hmm.
You just have to go in and have a look. It's like, it's really, it's like this black hole of evilness that just draws you in somehow.
Yeah, it's the worst part about it is some of it is actually useful.
Exactly.
So that creates this kind of desire to be like, well, I don't want to miss if there's something important in there, I better know about it. And then you just find yourself lost in a sea of nonsense in between the odd good post.
Mm,
But I think having the fact that it does have some, because if it had no value, we wouldn't use it, right?
no.
If it had none whatsoever, you just wouldn't use it. So I
Yeah.
think that's what makes it even more of like a trap, is you know that at some point you're going to find something of value.
There's a really interesting thing you just said there. If it has no value, would we use it? And then that automatically asks me, what do we look at as value? Now we can
Great.
look at it as a business point of view if you're
Yep.
trying to build something, but how many people actually use Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc., 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 that haven't got that in mind? They're just using it.
The value for them, I would guess or speculate, is dopamine, little hits of something that they need. And if it wasn't that, they'd probably be getting it from chocolate bars or who knows what.
Both.
Yeah. But then
It's
it's an
not.
interesting point about value because
Hmm.
I was ranting at my missus earlier because Fartcoin has
Who?
reached Fartcoin.
Fart coin.
Fartcoin has just reached $284 million market cap.
Really?
And and I was ranting at my missus like this is not a serious asset class anymore. Like this is. Meanwhile, I think Poundland. Did you hear Poundland in the UK collapsed? It's gone
No.
completely bankrupt.
Has it?
Poundland and Pound World. I think they joined and then they both collapsed or something like that.
Okay.
And so all those people with physical products on physical shelves are now out of a job. There's no more Poundland in the UK. And
Wow.
Fartcoin is worth $284 million as of a few hours ago when I was checking it. I was just like, that's what I mean. So when you say what is value, well, and it brings up what I just said before, which was if it doesn't have value, we wouldn't use it, right? Well, I mean, that thing doesn't have any value, but somehow has commanded 284 million in market cap. So, like I said to my missus, this is not a serious asset class anymore.
It's bonkers, isn't it? I find
I
it bonkers.
I can't comprehend it at all.
For you being in the trade, that's. No, I'm trying to think of an example for something that I don't know. But for you being in the trade, it must be so demoralizing to see the I don't know the shambles, the greed, the utmost. Wow, I call it almost evilness of deceit and. You must see I can only imagine if, within your experience you have seen. I'm going to come into something in a minute because I thought of something about you the other day. You must see this a real big change recently, probably over the last 2 or 3 years, in sentiment, in the way people are thinking, in the way maybe it's desperation. I don't know, or haven't you?
Oh no, I've definitely noticed a change. I've seen it a bunch of times before.
Mhm.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's demoralizing
Yeah,
so much as it's just part of how human nature works and how these boom bust cycles work. And whether normally when we say boom bust, we're talking about the wider economy and they're much longer term boom and bust cycles, right? Big boom and then recession, big boom, recession. But I've seen plenty of boom busts in smaller asset classes, penny stocks, larger stocks, whatever it is,
yeah.
commodities. I've seen commodities scream up to absurd numbers and then crash all the way back down again. I've seen it all 100 times before. And it just is what it is. Like it's just part of what drives prices in that huge near vertical manner is greed and these kind of FOMO type emotions. It's the opposite of panic selling. It's panic buying. People think they have to own this asset or they're going to miss a once in a lifetime opportunity. And most recently, I've been seeing it with MicroStrategy. May or may not have topped. I think it's too early to say. You know me, I work on a balance of probabilities. On a balance of probabilities, I say it's topped. But there's always an outside chance it can make a new high. If it does, whatever, we'll pivot and we'll catch that. But I've sold out on my MicroStrategy position, and all I've got non-stop is people telling me, "You're an idiot. You don't understand. This time is different because we've never seen a company like MicroStrategy. It can offer these notes, and it can offer equity, and it can take that and buy Bitcoin. And Bitcoin goes. We've never seen that before. It's new." And the common theme here is this time it's different. And they are kind of right. We have never seen a company that can issue 0% convertible bonds and then use it to buy Bitcoin. But what I can tell you for sure is every time I've ever seen a chart put the same structure in, a parabolic blow off top that goes near vertical, there's always a narrative, right? If it was Google back in the dot-com bubble, the narrative was we've never seen a search engine that can just search for things, right? Or if it was some oil stock, it's like we've never seen them with this drilling technology. There's always a story and a reason that people buy into for why it's different this time around. But the reality is, it's all narrative and it's wholly speaking driven by greed and FOMO. People just don't want to miss out. They don't want to think they're they don't want to sell. They just want to keep buying more and keep adding leverage because this thing can only go up because this time it's different. And so yeah, it's kind of weird, but that's basically what I've been seeing of late. And then it's also fueled by this kind of network effect of people talking to people. So when Bitcoin was at the bear market lows or trending down, no one cared, right? If you told your mate in the pub, "Oh, I bought some Bitcoin," it went down, right? That's not exciting. But when you tell your mate in the pub, "Oh, I bought Bitcoin," it goes up every day, right? Particularly towards the end of stages of the cycle, when it starts
Yeah.
to really accelerate, really start to make bigger price moves, starts to go up a lot more often than it goes down. And then it works as this network effect where you tell your mate in the pub, "I bought some Bitcoin, I'm up X 100%," right? And then he tells his mate, "Oh, this guy at the pub told me to buy Bitcoin. I bought it. I made 800 quid this week," right? And then he tells his barber, and his barber goes, "Oh, my mate was telling me about that." And it kind of spreads as this sort of mass, I don't know what you call it, mass network effect or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And it all spreads like a fire. And then obviously as they buy it and it goes up, they tell their mates, and you get this kind of exponential compounding effect until eventually it just reaches a point where no one's got any money anymore, or the market has now reached a valuation that's nowhere near a down to earth valuation, right? It's just priced all the way up from extreme greed and FOMO and people adding leverage. And then naturally, smart money says, "Okay, this is overvalued. Time to dump it," right? And everyone else, because they're new, because their barber told them to buy it, because their mate down the pub told them to buy it, they don't know how to manage risk. They never considered this thing could go down. They just believed it was different this time and it was new and blah blah blah. And so they end up buying the dips on the way down or holding because they believe it couldn't possibly, not go back up. And so I think it's just the same cycle of human greed and emotion. And then the other thing to kind of finish this off is, you've probably heard me say this a bunch of times. Your average trader or investor has a career expectancy of 3 years. That's
Yeah.
because they show up to market, they buy a bunch of stuff, it goes up, they think it can never go down, they think this time is different, they buy the narrative, and then it goes down.
Yeah.
And then they quit, not soon enough to walk away with profit. They hold it, or they buy more, or they add more leverage, and eventually they got no money left. And then they go, "Oh, that was a scam. What a fool I've been." And they walk away, and then they leave, right? So that's the reason people never learn and markets exhibit the same behavior all over again, is because most of the people, instead of learn their lesson and
Yeah.
think, "How can I do it better next time?" they conclude, "It was a scam. I lost my money. I'm never going near that stuff again." And then they leave permanently. And so next time around, when we have another bubble, it's all new people doing the exact same thing over and over again. So I think that's just how it works. Like I said, I've seen it countless times in many, many different asset classes, and it's always the same. A bunch of people pour in and they tell you it's never going down. You're wrong. Your TA is not going to work anymore. That's one that I always hear. TA won't work anymore because this time is different, blah, blah, blah. But it's never different. It's just not, because institutions eventually go, "No, that's overvalued. I'm selling." And they got all the money.
Well, the institutions are human people as well, aren't they?
Yeah,
They're gonna
yeah,
have the same. They're gonna have the same same sentiment and emotional type that any normal, sensible person that's looking into something would go through it, and they'd observe exactly what you're saying. And I'm sure there's some very like yourself, very bright, intelligent people that know all this.
Well, they've probably done it. That's the thing. At one point, I have. That's how I know this stuff. I've
Yeah,
lived it. I made all of these mistakes.
yeah,
And then I went, oh, time to develop a strategy, right?
yeah,
And if I'd have just quit, then I would have never have known. I could have just only concluded I got scammed.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I would have said things like stock market is gambling and whatever. And that's what the institutions, I guarantee you, every institutional trader has made that same mistake at
Yeah.
some point. And now they probably work to engineer that by obviously controlling the media. Maybe that's conjecture or speculation. Maybe they don't. But I would suggest to you that they probably do. The big boys probably have control over the media. They probably know exactly when to print the bullish headlines, exactly when to print the bearish ones, right? Exactly when to release a piece of FUD because they need to shake the price out and cause some liquidations, right? You're laughing because you know it's true, right? Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So, so I reckon they engineer this bubble because they probably understand human psychology better than almost everyone.
100%. I can't. But I'm stupid as far as this all this game's concerned. But I'm a pretty logical thinker, and even I can see what you've been talking about, just in a logical, just common sense type thing.
Yeah.
You can see it. You can see it a mile off. And what I was going to say is, obviously, I'm not a trader. I don't trade for a living or anything like that. But obviously, I've got a great interest in my investments and bits and pieces. But I can honestly say, when I used to have my old channel, I always used to say, I just feel like I'm in my apprenticeship. I really do. And like I come up to 3 years, probably got another year, like a nice full cycle to go through in Bitcoin, especially. And then I can't wait to the next cycle because I've learned so much
Yeah.
and made some dumb mistakes. I really have, but I've also made some good calls, and some that, I mean, you talk about MicroStrategy. I told you ages ago, I got out when way before that he split his shares, and that was the best profit I've made doing what I'm doing. But my wife says, if he kept them,
Yeah.
they would have been worth 4 times as much now, if not more.
Yeah.
But I said, yeah, I get that. But I took the biggest profit I've ever made. And that I hold on to more but now I've learned a little bit more about possibly what could have happened purely by doing what I did. So would that make me change things different? It might make me wait a little bit longer, but I don't regret doing what I'm doing because
It's
I made a 5-figure profit
that's
at
an
the time.
incredibly mature way to think about it. And when I say mature, I mean in this instance, mature in terms of your trading career. It took me many, many years to realize that that's the correct way to look at it. I've made money, so I won, right? But a lot of
Hey,
people, and I made this mistake countless times very early days in my career, that if you sell something and it keeps going up, they interpret that as a mistake, right? But if you've made money, you've made money, right? It's total fallacy to say, "Oh, I sold too early." Yeah, sure. Like even to this day, I sell things too early. Okay, like we're going to do that, but your job is not to sell the absolute top. Your job is to make money from the market, right? And
exactly.
all the rest is just greed and fallacy. Like, yeah, you can always do better, fine. And yeah, you can for sure learn from that and say, well, how could I have done something different to keep me in the trade for next time?
Yeah.
That's absolutely fine as well. But one thing I notice is recently in the members section, I said, look, I'm out of my MicroStrategy position. I closed the trade first, and then we got some trend line breaks, and I took half off on my longer term position. And then we got a few more candles, and I said, no, I've seen enough. I'm out. I'm selling all of it. I'm no longer holding any MicroStrategy. And loads and loads and loads of people said, were saying things like, well, what if it goes up? Right? Like, oh, don't you want to buy the dip? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, I bought really low down and I sold very high up. Even if it goes up 2x from here, I don't care. I've made gains that would not be seen again in another stock, most probably in my entire career. I did a 17x on MicroStrategy.
I can imagine.
So that is, I'm probably never, I have to, I'm probably never going to get a 17x in a stock ever in my life. And even if it the temptation is to say, well, if it doubles from here, then you would have had twice as much as a 17x. But the reality is, yeah, I would have. But if I'd have bought Bitcoin at $1, I'd be a billionaire, right? If I'd have bought Apple shares at a penny, I'd have been a billionaire, right? We
Yeah,
can play this game indefinitely. It's not a real game, right?
yeah,
You have to pay yourself, and you have to get used to saying, well, I made some money. That was your job, right? You take a trade because you hope it's going to go your way
yeah,
and you're going to be able to exit with profit. And as
yeah,
long as you do that, then you become your own worst enemy.
yeah,
Because if I just started hopping in and out and going, oh no, my gains, oh, I think I sold too early. Let me just jump back in. Let me try and win it back. Let me blah blah blah. That's how you get chopped up at the top and then end up losing. Right? It's very very easy. And I was saying this to the members at the time. I said, if you decide to sell here, you're your own worst enemy, because if you sell and walk away, you can't possibly lose. There's no way. If you lock the gains down and leave, that's it, right? But if you lock the gains down and then you're worried that it's going to go up and you're going to be hopping back in and out all the time, that's how you can potentially turn a massive gain into nothing or even a loss,
yeah,
because you're too caught up in trying to get the absolute. You're never going to catch 100% of the move.
yeah.
So that's an incredibly mature way to look at it. Like you took the trade, you made your money, and you got out, right? That's how you win. You won.
Yeah.
But like I said, a lot of people get very, very caught up on trying to be perfect in their thing or trying to catch the entire move, and all of that is really just greed and lack of emotional control.
Yeah. The other thing I learned from it was that MicroStrategy is not the only thing I've got,
Yep, 100%.
and but if it means I might not do so well on another one, then well, touch wood, we're okay at the moment. But if we don't do so well on another one, then if I hadn't have had that to offset that loss, if it happens, then I would be emotionally even more disappointed with myself.
Yep, yep,
Because no disrespect, but what's happened to MicroStrategy? I didn't have a crystal ball. I didn't know it was going to do what it was going to do.
yep.
So it's irrelevant. But to sit there and just remind myself, it's made such a difference, Camel. It really has. It's given me so much more confidence to when you sit there and you think, oh, I'm just an old boy, just doing something and I'll make 5 figures on a trade,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
profit.
Yeah, yeah.
And embarrassingly, it's not, I know it's not my money. I've taken it from the market. It's someone else's loss, obviously. But the buzz of it all is I've done it. Now, if I can't have any of those experiences, and it doesn't matter whether it's 5 figures, 4 figures, 6 figures, 1 figure, whatever, when you do it, I would rather have that under my belt to keep me grounded, to know that, okay, how did we do that? How do we get it there? And what can I do? What can I do with another one? Or if I really want to get back into it at some point, when do I? Just make me think about it. Is it too late now? Should I wait? Just see what happens? If I hadn't have done that, I would have been asking any of these questions in my own head, which can be very sort of, you start chasing, don't you? You can start chasing quite easily.
Yeah, you've I don't know if you realize it or not, but I know you said you're in an apprenticeship, but you honestly you have leapfrogged so many years of learning curve, because most people, again, speaking from direct experience here, I did this myself. I spent years learning how to buy, how to find a cycle low, how to find a trend line break, how to find, at the time I was using a different strategy slightly with moving averages and
Yeah,
a few other things. But as I was finding my strategy, I spent so much time honing how to buy and where to put the stop loss, how to get in underneath a move right before it moved higher. And it didn't occur to me for years, literally like 3 years maybe, that you have to learn to sell too,
yeah,
right? And it's funny because people never think about learning how to sell. But by the time I even contemplated becoming a good seller, right, I already had become quite a proficient buyer. I've been training buying for 3 years and then only just decided, oh, wait, maybe selling is not as simple as pushing the sell button, right? Maybe you need an actual system, just like I got a system for pushing a buy button. Maybe you need an actual system to sell as well. And so then I had to go through this whole new learning process of training myself. And it took about as much time as it took to learn how to buy properly. I had to do that whole process all over again, focusing on selling. And so this is something that I think many investors, it never occurs to them. They just go, oh, well, I'll just figure out how to buy, right? And then, like I said, if you don't learn how to sell, or if you haven't got your mind in the right place where you can be happy with taking the profit and leaving and not being greedy and not worrying if you sell and it shoots up another 300%, right? From time to time, that's going to happen. Who cares? It's not a real problem unless you make it a problem. But yeah, it's the fact that you've internalized this so early on really puts you in mega good step for later in life. And something else that I've been talking to the members about is, even if it goes up 2 or 300% from here, MicroStrategy, at some point it's going to come down into a 4-year cycle low in 2026, right? And then we get another sweet, sweet, sweet opportunity. So long as the company doesn't blow up and go to zero, okay, so long as it finds a tradable 4-year cycle low, we just might be able to get 17x out of that stock again.
Yeah.
Right. And if you look at I've also got another setup that I'm working on at the moment, which shows the first bull run it did, I forget the numbers, but it did a bit. This bull run, it did significantly more than the last. And I've got good reason to believe that next bull run, it will do more than this bull run. Now, if that's true, we could even be looking at 20, 25, 30x off the lows, right? And you don't need much money if you're going to be looking at a 20x, right? So, and again, we can do this not by buying altcoins that could go to zero overnight or that you can't manage the risk on properly. We can do this with a properly managed trade, right? Properly managed risk like a true professional.
Yep.
And that's super exciting. But again, that requires me waiting until late 2026, which a lot of people don't want to do. A lot of people are like, no, 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 no. Find me something right now that's going to go up, right? And so again, if you can kind of have this holistic picture and sit back and let the opportunity come to you, then it puts you in really, really good stead. Because ultimately, if you can take little risk and have a potential large upside reward, then that's how you become one of the top performers, right? That's how you get the most out of the market.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I can totally relate to that. I think if I was a lot younger, I don't know whether I'd learn that lesson that I would have learned if I was younger, though, mate. Really, to be fair, but who knows? I don't know. But it makes sense what you're saying, and just to just validify what you're saying, just to experience it. It's how can you beat yourself up if you've made some serious money? How can you beat yourself up? And if you are beating yourself up, then you're doing something wrong, in my eyes. You know. But I get it. It's a tough world you're in, a really tough world, and a dangerous world for people as well. Really dangerous. But then that comes down to hopeism, doesn't it? It's probably why the altcoins do really well every now and then. If they're getting pumped by someone, people go, oh, I just put a tenner in. Oh, I'll put 20 quid in. Oh, yeah, I might put 30 before you know it. Gone. Oh, God. It's just like going into a betting shop, isn't it,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's mad. It's absolutely mad. And there's a ton out there that screws with my brain. So how that affects, other people, it's mad. It really is mad. But that's why I say, got to watch your channel.
The age thing may well be a factor
Yeah.
because I think if you have worked your whole life and you've bought a house and then you've laddered up to another house and then you've had kids and you've raised the kids and you see how expensive it is for the kids, and all the while this is going on, you slowly watched your pint in the pub go from 45p a pint to £5.45 a pint or beyond, right? Apparently one of our locals is charging £8.50 for a pint of Guinness now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, lucky I don't drink that.
Yeah.
But
Jesus.
I lost my train of thought. Yeah, but if you've exchanged a great deal of your time and energy for money and you've slowly built up your estate and your house, you paid your mortgage off, blah, 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 and then perhaps you start to invest, you understand when you get a 5-figure win, for example, you go, well, I can put that in the context of how many hours I'd have to work for that, or I can put that in the context of how much of my mortgage that would pay off, or relative to the deposit I put on my first house, right? You can kind of respect the capital. I think that's what I'm trying to say here. It makes
Yeah.
you respect the capital.
Yeah.
You look at that and you understand what it is as a unit of value, time, energy. And I think versus if you're a 18 to 20-year-old that hasn't really worked much, right? Maybe you've worked your first couple of jobs or whatever in some local shop or whatever it is. or maybe you haven't worked at all, right? Maybe you're a uni student, and you start putting your money into fart coin, right? Almost, it's almost the worst thing that can happen is if you make a bunch of money. Because if you do, then you think, well, why am I going to go and work this job for a national average wage when I just made 200K catching an altcoin pump, right? But then inevitably you lose it because you don't have any of the skills required to keep hold of the capital or manage it properly. And then you end up in this weird situation where you also don't want to go to work either. Because you're
Yeah.
like, well, why am I going to work when I just made all this money on an altcoin, right? I'll just sit around and wait till I catch the next altcoin pump.
Yeah.
And then, so that kind of ruins the whole perspective of what capital is, how it is to earn money and exchange your time and money for value and that kind of thing. And yeah, I just think if you're younger, you haven't given enough time and energy and sacrifice in exchange for money to learn how to
Yeah.
respect it yet. So all you do is look around you and go, well, that guy made 200 million bucks. And then you look at your portfolio and you go, well, that's nothing, right? But it might be life changing for many people. But because they're looking over the fence, because they haven't developed the respect for capital,
Yeah.
they kind of don't respect it at all and they don't manage it and they don't look to protect it. They just kind of get greedy and look for more and more and more,
Yeah.
probably because all they want is a Lamborghini or whatever other status symbol it is. You know what I mean?
It's value. You hit the nail on the head there. Because I was going to say it wasn't only the fact that I made a, good profit on something, but it was the respect I had afterwards to know that for all the hours I put in trying to learn about how all this works, it worked. So the payback is what you're saying for me as well was, oh my God, I put a lot of time and energy, which was my time and energy. I wasn't getting paid for it or anything, but it paid. It doesn't happen all the time, I know, but it paid. And that was more important for me because like you sit there and like, I know you do it, but for me, it's I put probably when I'm not working or being dad or whatever, all the rest of my time is like research, 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 look at, read, read, watch, watch, listen, 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 hours upon hours, listen to my wife say, oh, that fucking hell, you back on YouTube again, what you're listening to now, all those hours. And then all of a sudden you get payday. And I sat there and I just thought, wow, that wasn't a waste. I could have really effed it up, but I didn't. I actually listened to the people that are more experienced. I actually experienced it, and it was far, the feeling of it was far greater than knowing that I could have made 5 times as much. And the value of that to me has changed the way I do everything now. It was one experience, which a lot of people say, oh, if you'd held on to it, you could have had a lot more. It was irrelevant because I'm hoping that just that one experience of getting some payback from the time and energy I put into, the simplicity of, you know, what I do with my trading and my charts, and it worked. It worked, and it's so powerful. It's just mad, and I keep reminding myself of it, and it just totally nullifies when I think, oh, I would have had like 30, 40, 50 grand now, or 60 grand, or whatever.
Yeah,
It doesn't
yeah,
matter. It's just made me now, oh, wow, let's see what we can catch next time, with
yeah, for
a
sure.
continued thing, with the same thing, but be patient and, all the stuff. I love it, dude. I can't thank you enough, really.
Don't thank me, you did it.
Well, I did do it, but for guys like, I know I blow ass, smoke out your ass a lot, but it isn't just you. It is. You're right. It is about us doing what we should be doing, and that's putting value into our time and energy. And unfortunately, that's been lost, totally lost. I don't
Yeah.
know whether that's through entitlement, whether it's planned, whether it's manipulated to that be, so we all become state dependent. That's totally another conversation. But it amazes me. I sit and I just think, Jesus, why don't you just learn? And why can't you put by a year or two or whatever age? I'm in my 60, well, nearly 60 now. But it doesn't make me special. Sometimes it's harder because the old brain doesn't work as good as it used to. But it works. And it's so basic. It just bloody works. So thank you again.
Don't thank me, you did it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I took the risk. What I was going to ask you
Yeah.
was there was loads of things normally I'm going to ask you, but I know you're very. I don't fully understand what you do, but I know you're very risk orientated with the way you do your job.
Yeah.
Now, do you apply any percentage risk to whether things could be different or things could be changed, or is that irrelevant to you?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay, a lot of how do we put this? A lot of let's use Bitcoin for example. It's a great example actually. A lot of Bitcoin's young, 15 years roughly around. So it's
Yep.
got history, 15-year history. Cyclical, which obviously you've taught me about, but it's cyclical. And do you put any, when you're looking forward, yeah, because this is your career, so I presume you do look forward a bit.
Yep.
What you do, because you just mentioned about 2026. Do you put any risks as to the fact that sometimes cycles can change in the way that we've perceived them to be through history? Do you put any time or energy into maybe it could be different? Maybe a cycle could change. What is there to say that I'm talking off the top of my head on a load of crap here, but what is there to say that we now go into a 3 year cycle or a 2 year cycle or a 5 year cycle or a 6 year cycle? Do you even think about that, or do you just worry about that if you see a trend difference? And could that be possibly too late, too early, or do you even think about that sort of stuff?
No, I don't know.
Okay,
Um, the beautiful thing about cycles is in my entire career, I have never seen one change. I've never seen a 3 year cycle become a 4 year cycle or vice versa. I've never seen a 60-day cycle morph into a 40-day cycle.
yeah,
For whatever reason, I've never seen that. And thus I don't really think about it. Now, if it were to happen, then I'm sure we would spot that
yeah,
as it was unfolding.
yeah,
And you would spot that because if you started to go long on cycle lows, they would fail.
yeah,
And obviously you're going to get stopped out from time to time, but if you started to get stopped out repeatedly, you'd have to stop and say, well, why do I keep getting stopped out?
yeah.
Something's wrong with the strategy. So no, I don't. I never really think about it.
Okay,
The whole risk orientated thing is it just took so much hard work to get to where I am
sure.
that I'm just terrified of losing it because when you first start, you might think, particularly in the like crypto space, right? Like this is really funny. When I first started trading, if you could hit 30 to 50% on a stock, that was like you're killing it, right? And nowadays, people sneeze at like 200 or 300% returns because cryptocurrency has morphed and warped people's perspectives into thinking that if it's not like 1,000% minimum, then I don't get out of bed for it, right? But I come from a place of like 30 to 50%. I was like hop, skipping, and jumping on the way home, right?
Yeah,
And so I think people's risk appetites are at the extreme end of the curve nowadays. But I'm hyper aware that if I take too much risk and I blow 25% out of my account or more, 50%, right, I'm going to undo years and years and years of discipline, hard work, focus, risk management, sticking to the strategy. I'm so aware that the only person that can take it from me is me.
yeah, sure.
And so because of that, it's like I've put so much time and so much dedication into this. Like I'm not messing this up. Like I'm not going to take a chunk out of my account. And I think people don't really understand that, especially of late. Newer investors have come into the space. They're like, "What do you mean you're long and you're calling for a recession?" It's like, "Well, yeah, yeah, that's what like it's not that complicated. I'm long until the charts break,
Yeah,
right?" But under the hood, I think we're heading to a recession. Like I don't want a recession, but whatever. But the reason I'm so cautious is, like I said, I've worked so hard to be where I am that the last thing I want to do is blow a chunk out of my account and then have to be like, oh man, I've reset my entire career by years because that's what it is, you
yeah,
know. if I blew 50% out of my account, I would have to go all the way. That would be like wasting 5 or so years or more. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
so that's why I kind of focus on it, and especially because it's what I do for a living.
for sure.
It's almost like if I ran a cake business selling cupcakes, the last thing I would do is just I don't know. I've taken this analogy to a weird place, and I don't know where I'm going with it.
You wouldn't presume that I've always just made 1,000 cakes at the end of the month because that's my trade. You wouldn't presume that, oh, next month I need to make 10,000.
Yeah, or even more extreme than that, I wouldn't swap flour out for coal
All right,
and
bloody.
expect people to eat it.
All
Right?
right,
I
yeah,
wouldn't take some ridiculous risk. Like, oh, we don't use flour anymore. Eat this coal. This is charcoal cake. People be like, I'm not buying that.
yeah,
Right? And
yeah,
like this analogy has gone to a very strange place. But the point is, yeah, that's why I'm so risk orientated, because I understand I've made so many mistakes so many times, and I fully understand that if you blow a chunk out of your account, you have to fight your way out of that hole, and it undoes potentially a year of work.
yeah,
More. It could undo more. If I was even more reckless, it could undo years of work.
yeah,
And and so because of that, I always, even though I tell people I'm a trader, I'm a risk manager. That's what I do. I manage risk. And me and my wife have a joke about that all the time. So that extends outside of trading as well. I can't think of a specific example, but every now and again I go, no, 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 we're not doing that because, and then she goes, what do you mean you're overthinking it? And I go, no, I'm a risk manager first. And we always kind of have a chuckle about that, right?
yeah,
Because that's how I view the business. I manage the risk first and the reward comes after. So so that's my approach. And and yeah, I don't really think anything outside of that. I just kind of, my number one goal is to try to make as much money as possible, but
and protect it.
without ever taking any risk. And when risk shows up, I want to get straight out of the way, and I'm happy to sit in cash for an indefinite amount of time
Mm.
until I eventually go, okay, now I'm confident to step back in again. And I have no
Yeah,
problem with that. I think a lot of investors really view cash as like some kind of evil entity. And I think that makes sense, because if you're in the crypto space, then you're like, well, fiat currency is getting inflated and debased to zero. It's mathematically guaranteed to be destroyed over time and blah, blah, blah. And that's true.
yeah,
But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with holding cash,
yeah,
because the dollar value will stay stable for a while.
hmm
You
hmm
don't want to hold it perhaps over 10 or 20 years for sure because
yeah.
of inflation. But if you have to sidestep the market when uncertainty shows up, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
No, I think it's really interesting because when you talk like this, you get such a better understanding that I think even for the amount that you show on your channel, unless somebody has been around, I'm going to blow my own trumpet now. I've been around like practically from the beginning, and try to follow what you're doing, albeit I never wanted to do what you was doing, but just found lots of it really interesting and helpful for what I was trying to do. But I think if people don't try and sort of listen to what you just said, or even and try and listen to what you said and then visualize it against what you've been showing for the years on your channel, then you get a better dynamic of what a trader has to do. It isn't about, if you look at, some of your charts and you've been following them over the years, I don't know how you do it, but you stack a trade onto a trade onto a trade, protecting as you go along while it's going up. I think that's a very crude way of saying it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
But you're protecting all of that, aren't you?
Yeah.
All the way through the process. So your risk isn't one trade; it's one on top of one on top of one. I know it is one trade as such, but you're constantly protecting the bottom line as you go through all those different stages. Whereas I would invest in an asset, for whatever reason, and hope it does what it needs to do. Obviously, that's not quite as basic as what I do now, but there's a massive difference. But I'm not relying on what I'm doing to earn my living, and I think a lot of people miss that with what you guys do, and they just come along, listen to what you say. Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? What about this? That's why I put stupid comments in sometimes when people keep asking you about all kinds.
Yeah.
I just like, what? I can't remember what I put. Oh, I can't remember. It's something really stupid, and you ignored it, which I don't blame you for because it's saying like, "Tell me what time to go to bed tonight" or something. I don't know.
Oh,
It's just like,
maybe I just didn't see it, but
yeah, it's just like a really shit because I was reading it all and I'm thinking, he don't want to know about any of this shit. But he said it so many times, but it's just constant. People just asking, what about this coin? What about that coin? Didn't even know there was such a thing called a fart coin.
oh mate, oh I couldn't believe it. This is yeah, wild, wild. But oh
Sorry, go
sorry,
on.
go on.
No, go on,
No.
mate.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, people can't understand the altcoin thing. I see this question so often. They say, well, how come if you can trade, you don't trade altcoins? Because you could make even more money if you trade altcoins. And they don't understand that I don't think from a perspective of how much money do I stand to make on a trade. I always think from the perspective of how much do I stand to lose if I'm wrong. And as soon as you frame it that way, altcoins suddenly don't make a great deal of sense.
No.
And And another thing people don't understand is everybody has an individual risk profile, risk tolerance. Some people are more than happy to accept insane amounts of risk and have 90% of their net worth in fart coin. Whereas I'm not like that. I'm respectfully, I don't, if you can handle that, that's fine. But I would not sleep at night if I had large exposure to fart coin. I couldn't possibly go to bed at night. And so people seem to not understand a simple concept. And that is that everyone has different risk appetites. For me, I have no interest in altcoins. It's not necessarily, it doesn't mean you can't make money in altcoins. It doesn't mean that they couldn't outperform. Maybe I am missing out on huge amounts of return, right? But in exchange for that, I know that I can sleep easy at night, knowing my risk is managed, knowing that I'm not taking excessive risk, right? That's really all it comes down to. And again, but it's really important. I always think, how much do I stand to lose if I'm wrong? That's my first thought in a trade. Not, well, if I put X amount in, can I make $1 million? Which I think is what a lot of altcoiners do. They go, how much has this got to go up for me to make a
Yeah,
retireable, an amount I can retire on?
yeah.
But again, as a risk manager, that's what I do. I'm always like, how much am I going to lose if I'm wrong?
Mm.
And as soon as you start to think like that, then it's hard to justify a lot of these altcoins.
Yeah, I've observed it in all aspects of all the different assets. See it in gold and copper, gold and silver as well. I, I, and I've been guilty to a degree, but that's my learning curve. You know, I see people go, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, you need to buy this, you need to buy that, you need to buy that. It's going to go up forever. It's going to go up for this. It's you know, like, it's going to go leaps and bounds." And I just sit there and think, "Is it? Where are you getting your information from? Please tell me." And then I've witnessed that in that side of things, you just think, well, people are still in it, and then they drop out, and then you find out they've been selling their stuff, and then you think, well, they've obviously either over subscribed to a certain asset and they need the money, or they just lost faith because they haven't really done the homework more than anything to realize that, oh God, maybe silver's not going to go to the moon and be worth 1 million. I know it's a stupid question, but be worth 1 million or whatever. I see it in everything now, and it just really, really makes me sit back and just go, "Whoa, steady, steady, go steady." It's
Yep,
really, really weird, so strange. I wanted to talk about silver and gold tonight.
please do.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping a few more people would be in.
I just bought a 5 gram gold bar from Cobra on Friday.
Ooh, did you? What did you buy?
5 gram 2025 koi, lucky, good luck koi or something. I don't know.
Lucky coin.
I'm gonna have it made into a pendant.
Oh, right, cool.
Yeah,
You're
it was
fish
funny
up.
actually. It was funny. I told Gordy I was gonna buy. We were waiting for a weekly cycle low, both of us, which is
Yeah.
due in a couple of weeks, and both of us were gonna buy some gold.
Okay.
And so he was asking me to guide him into that weekly cycle low so he could buy for a lower price. And I said that I would let him know because at the same time I was going to buy a 5 gram gold bar and make it into a pendant and
Yeah.
necklace. And so I that was that. And he just texted me out of the blue to say, "Oh, you watching Cobra's auction?" And I was like, "Oh no, I forgot. What, like, I'll hop in now." And he was like, "Yeah, he's got a 5 gram koi. You should get that instead." And
Okay,
so I was like, "Oh yeah, we'll get that. That looks brilliant." So yeah, I bought the 5 gram gold koi carp thing or whatever it was. I thought that was pretty cool.
definitely.
I was gonna get the I don't know what it's called, a pamp one instead, but I like the koi more. So
Yeah, is
yeah,
that, did you go for the pattern?
the what the pattern?
Yeah, the pattern on the bar more than
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, I like the koi fish more than the
Okay.
the, the pamp lady or whatever it is.
You have to excuse me because Cobra's at work and I'm like his secretary. He said, "Oh, if I get 5 minutes, I'll jump on while I'm at work if I'm not doing anything. Can you send me the thing? Send me the details." I said, "Will it be on the post?" He said, "Yeah, but I don't know." And it's just like, "Oh, you need a PA, dude." So I'm just sending it to him if he wants to jump on. Be a good guy to have on for gold and silver, really. So, what are your thoughts on gold and silver, dude? Do you reckon there's still a market for physical stuff going forward into our lovely digital world we seem to be going into?
I am planning on, well, as you know, as I said earlier, I sold out my MicroStrategy position,
Yeah,
and I was planning to allocate some of that cash to gold and gold miners out of this weekly cycle low.
yeah,
And I'm going to be, as ever, building the exposure slowly. I'm also going to be operating with the zero tolerance policy. So if we see any weakness out of that cycle low, then I'm going to be shooting first and asking questions later
yeah,
and expecting further downside. But I only expect that weekly cycle to fail if we suddenly get some kind of black swan event, flash crash recession type deal. I
yeah,
don't think that's that likely. And even if it is, maybe that doesn't necessarily mean the weekly cycle would have to fail. But that's the plan. So the plan is we should be at a weekly cycle low end of the month, and then I'm going to try to allocate some money to the gold mining stocks and gold and silver. And so long as it trends up and bounces out of that weekly cycle low, then I'll stay long and strong for a while, hopefully longer term. And like I said, as always, we manage the risk. If for some reason a black swan shows up or we enter a recession, I might have to cut the trade and enter lower down, but that's fine.
yeah.
It's all part of it. But I am very, very, very bullish going into Q1 of next year. I've been quite consistent in saying I expect
You
silver
have,
to break $50 into Q1 of next year.
you have.
I've been saying for a very long time, weekly cycle low and go. And we're finally a couple of weeks away. So, and I've got a lot of physical silver that I'm planning to dump if it gets over $50 as well.
I've done the sacrilege of what I shouldn't be doing, but me and my son took a educated guess, and it's your fault. No, it's not your fault. No, it's
Good.
an educated guess. With the information, and we've been on the paper market with
Yeah.
silver purely for the fact. I know it's my son's fault because he turned and said, "Yeah, but Dad, you can get rid of it so quick."
Yeah.
And I went, "Yeah, you can, I suppose." It's not quite so easy to get rid of a load of physical straight away. We've got that anyway. So yeah, that's what we're slowly accumulating that on a monthly basis at the moment. Because I don't know. I'm pretty bullish on silver. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. There's another little niggly thing that's at the back of my mind. Not just purely on. I'm just going to have a punt. It just feels right for some reason,
Yeah.
and it seems to make sense. It does make sense. So yeah, fingers crossed. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. It'll be there for another day. Maybe, maybe
It will
not.
be.
I'm sure it will be.
I'm
But yeah,
sure it'll
it's
always be
it's,
there.
it's fascinating. But yeah, with the silver and gold thing, do you think that there's with the big talk about Bitcoin being the digital gold of the future? Maybe, don't know. We'll see. That's going to put any pressure on the physical aspect of how gold's been for so long, and that could be a not. if that was going to happen, I can't see it happening until maybe one or two generations die off. Maybe I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Or do you even look out that far?
Um, I I see the
Interesting one.
argument for it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
I see the argument for it for sure. I also saw Sailor talking about how America should dump all their gold and then
Really?
buy Bitcoin with the money.
Well, there's a surprise.
And the argument is that then they will be able to buy like 4 or 5 million Bitcoin if they could find the if they could find it.
Yeah,
Prices would have to be a lot higher.
yeah,
Um, but the argument is they could buy 4 or 5 million Bitcoin with the gold that they hold, and then it would give them all the Bitcoin, and that it would, according to Saylor, demonetize gold and leave everyone else, all the other countries around the world, holding a demonetized asset. The problem, I think, with this whole idea that Bitcoin is going to demonetize gold or Bitcoin is going to replace gold, and you know me, I love my Bitcoin, right? But I can't get away from the simple logic that if you look at central banks all around the world over the last few years, they've been buying record amounts of gold. And this whole idea that they're just one day going to wake up and say, we'll throw it in the ocean. We don't care. We've got Bitcoin now. That just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't think that makes any sense at all. That suddenly they're just going to wake up and say, we don't care about gold. We spent all these billions of dollars buying tons and tons and tons of it. And now all of a sudden we're just going to buy Bitcoin instead. Right? Don't get me wrong. Like, I would love to see it. $100 trillion Bitcoin market cap. That sounds awesome, right? But it just doesn't make sense to me. They wouldn't be buying record quantities of gold over the last few years if they suddenly thought they were going to chuck it in the ocean and move to Bitcoin. And as nice as it would be, it just doesn't seem reasonable to me. And I think that it's perfectly feasible to see a realm in which both Bitcoin and gold coexist. I think there's nothing wrong with that. They both kind of do different things, right? At least indefinitely, gold is way more stable, right? It's got a much higher market cap. It's
yeah,
not going to drop 50, 60% in a couple of weeks, right? It's liquid. It's proven thousands of years. And then you look at Bitcoin and you go, well, until it gets to 100 trillion market cap, it's going to continue to have insane volatility, right? Like the supply is held by, you know, a bunch of people that aren't central banks, right? It just kind of makes sense that the two could coexist. And there's nothing wrong with having, let's say, gold as part of the portfolio
yeah,
and Bitcoin as like gold on steroids.
yeah,
But I think to kind of say that we're going to just throw one away and keep the other, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me.
yeah. Well, it doesn't make sense to me either. Put across that way. The only thing that makes slight sense to me is not looking through my own goggles and looking through maybe two or three generations down the line's goggles of how they will perceive it, whether there be any. It. How do I compare it? I look at it through. I don't see it as a sudden thing, like they've just got to throw away this asset or throw away that asset. But I do see it as, if you listen to most of the younger generation, if you're privileged to have a conversation with them, if you can even have a conversation with them, if you know, that's what I mean by privileged, and ask them certain questions, then quite often, even now, the 20-year-olds now are, they're not interested in much physical stuff. They don't seem to be interested in the physical stuff at all. It's all, why do I need to go to a bank? What's the point of having a bank? I can do everything on my phone.
Yeah.
It's, and I sit and I think, oh, because I've got this bias of where I've come from, and I was talking to my wife about it. I was saying, I remember when you didn't even have a cash point.
Yeah.
There was no such thing as a cash point. The only way you could get your money was Monday to Friday from a bank and queuing up for it and filling out a withdrawal form, you know. So I've
Mhm.
got this horrible bias in my mind. But talking to, I really want to get some youngsters on to talk about this sort of stuff. Most of the conversations around that sort of thing is, why do you need anything physical? What's the point of physical? Just everything's electronic. You just do everything on your phone. So I often sit there and I think, well, I can see the validity of physical stores of value becoming not so important to everyday people. Maybe still in as jewelry, definitely. There's always going to be that validity for jewelry. All the time we like jewelry and certain aspects of industry. But I'm not quite sure whether the generations to come will just be even bothered about it. Is
I
that make?
think,
I'm not
yeah,
sure. I'm not sure. It always tickles the
but
back of my mind.
I mean, when you say that, I just kind of think it doesn't matter what they think because at the moment we live in this central bank kind of tyranny, top-down control
Sure.
system, and
Yeah.
they think gold is important,
Yeah. Yeah.
at least based on their actions in the last 4 years of accumulating record
Yeah.
amounts, right?
Yeah.
And so I totally agree with you that the youngsters, particularly, are just going to be like only want digital, and they just tap if you can't tap it from your iPhone, then they don't care at all, right? um, so that totally makes sense to me. But again, I just can't help but look at it as like an elitist's asset in a way. It's like the guys on top, the central banks, the ultra rich people,
Yeah.
they buy gold because once you get above a certain wealth threshold, you need to
Sure.
put some of it in gold, right? That's
Sure.
just kind of that's what it's for.
Yeah.
It's for storing your wealth. And for a long time, it got a bad rep because it traded up very quickly and then spent like 12 or 13 years in a range. And
Yeah.
so it was very easy for Bitcoiners in that time to point at it and say, well, gold doesn't do anything, it goes sideways. But they're kind
Yeah.
of cherry picking the data
Of course.
and not looking at it. I mean, if you go back 100 years, gold has done ridiculously big numbers, right?
Yeah.
so, so yeah, I definitely see what you're saying, but for me, it's just, I don't understand how you can be how you can be a Bitcoiner, which is by nature anti-fiat, and not at least consider an allocation to gold and silver. They're kind of the
Exactly.
same thing to me, at least, and there's trade-offs for each one. You know, like Bitcoin is obviously more portable, more divisible, it's easier to move around and verify and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, I don't like fiat currency, and thus gold, silver, and Bitcoin are all infinitely better. so,
Absolutely.
so that's just kind of how I look at it. Like um, and I tell you what, as well, I would not be surprised. You know how when price goes higher, it draws more eyes into the space.
Sure.
People tell their mates down the pub and the barber, as we were saying earlier. I would not at all be surprised if gold finds a weekly cycle low and starts to rally up above $3,000 an ounce. If you start to see a bunch of people talking about gold,
Oh, 100%.
more and more people will be like, "Yeah, I bought that gold coin. Yeah, but I took my jewelry down to that place, and they were going to give me all this money for it, right?"
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely, you will hear it. In fact, I had an auntie who bought a gold bracelet and necklace in, I think it was Oman, something
All
like
right.
something like 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Recently took it to I don't know if it was a pawn shop or whatever you call it. Took it somewhere to trade it in, and they offered her thousands of pounds for it.
Okay.
And she rang my mom and was like, "You must tell Camel. You must tell Camel. I know he trades gold. You must tell. I can't believe it, right?" Because so she was hoping to get a couple $100 for it, and put it towards a car. And then, like I said, she got a few thousand for it, and she couldn't believe it. But over the long term, 40 or 50 years,
Yeah.
that's what it does. you know.
100%. Yeah.
So yeah, as the price goes up, I'm sure more people will draw their eyes into the space, particularly if Bitcoin starts to trade down as well.
Yep.
That you better believe as well is if Bitcoin enters a bear market and gold's still ripping as a
Yep.
risk-off asset, because Bitcoin at the moment is treated as a risk-on asset. It trades
Yep.
with stocks. It doesn't trade with gold. It trades
Yep.
opposite to gold.
Mm-hmm.
So if we do get some kind of stock market top and a bear market for crypto, and gold is ripping in the face of it, all of a sudden a bunch of people will probably start to get more into gold, I think. So yeah, that's my thoughts anyway.
It's interesting. It's so interesting because, sorry.
You're right.
Yeah. Bloody hell. I find it interesting because And the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because there's if you know if you want to find it, or the algorithms of YouTube will push it your way. There's this growing Bitcoin's better than gold, gold's better than Bitcoin. Or if you're into your Bitcoin and you watch a lot of Bitcoin stuff, you'll attract lots of Bitcoin's better than gold. And I just sit there and I think, we're not in, I don't feel that we're in a position at this moment in time to be able to say that. I really don't.
I agree.
And yeah, potentially it could be. But look at what's got to happen to make that happen. And so many, and of course, it doesn't matter whether I think it should happen or not. I'm not in control of it all. But so many different things have got to be, it would affect, as you said, all the banking industry, the finance industry, how things are done, how countries want to trade, how they value stuff. That doesn't happen overnight. That's going to be well beyond my, well, I'll be in a box somewhere in the ground somewhere, burnt somewhere. But it doesn't stop me from thinking the potential of how this could play out in my own mind to help my son understand his position in his investment process, and talking about those timelines and logical thinking more than anything, common sense. That's why I brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
And other things, I'm not sure within these large conglomerates whether young people will obviously take over from us old gits, and maybe they may have a different opinion. I really don't know. But that's so far down the line. So I think there's definitely, you can't go wrong. The youngsters I was talking to yesterday all picked, I mean, Bitcoin, obviously, but picked Bitcoin, gold, and silver. They were the three things that they're interested in, which I
I
found
mean,
fascinating.
they're anti-fiat by nature, right?
Yeah,
So it
100%.
makes sense.
100%. So yeah, if Cobra was on here, we could praise him and just say, yes, you're going to be very busy soon. Possibly.
Yeah, you will. The more price squeezes up, the more eyes drawn into the space, you know?
Yeah.
I think I found us a guest.
Hey, why someone ask you how to get on?
Yeah. They're not a
Good.
member, but I think you'll let it off.
Goldie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can come on.
He's a menace. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why I encourage it.
That is what.
He's a menace.
Can talk to us about his silver.
Yeah,
He
he's
loves
got
his
plenty of
silver.
silver. He
I
does. Yeah,
know,
he's
he
got
loves
loads of
it.
it. I think he's just making the transition to gold.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens, doesn't it? Happens in that
Uh,
journey for sure.
yeah, I think for him it was just about getting started. Silver's obviously a lot easier to
Mm,
get started with. He has got some gold as well, as far as I'm aware. But
cool.
I think he's kind of gotten to his stacking goal with silver, and so is now looking at swapping to gold.
Can you ever have
Not
enough silver?
swapping. What's that? Can you
Can
ever
you
have
ever?
enough?
Yeah.
I don't know. Can you ever have enough of anything, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's yeah, that's another question. When is enough enough? It's weird, isn't it?
It's kind of all relative as well, right?
Mm.
Because you can get enough and then give it some time, and you find you need to rebalance for whatever reason, or
It's a big question when you get older as well, because at some point you get to a stage where, do I need to be chasing this anymore, or can I not cool off a little bit? But that's really difficult when you've been doing it for 40 odd years.
yeah,
It's so difficult. One of the hardest things, this is interesting, one of the hardest things I found 2 years ago when I decided, okay, I don't need to go as mad as what I have done. Then I would probably it was like going on holiday. And probably after 2 weeks, I started to feel guilty. After 3 weeks, I started to think, what am I doing? After a month, it was, I kind of like this, but I don't like it. I should be, and then over the months and ever since, really, to be fair, up until probably this year, it's took me so long to actually understand and realize that that transition of pounding, grinding, going around that hamster wheel, 900 mile an hour for most of your working life, you don't know how to stop, and you
Hmm.
don't know, you just don't know how to. You don't know what it means. You don't, and until you do, it brings up so many questions about what you're doing. Is this? Are you ready for this? What you're supposed to be doing? It's really weird, really weird.
Yeah, yeah.
Really, it's so strange. And I've been talking to a few people recently that are sort of getting into that sort of era where they can back off a little bit and take a little bit more time. And I said, I don't envy you because you're going to go through a really weird experience mentally.
Yeah,
Really weird. Really
yeah,
weird.
yeah.
And then sorry, Gordy, I'll say hello in a minute. And then,
No, you crack on, mate.
and then, and then you start to understand why people lose everything when they stop work.
Yeah,
You get it.
yeah,
I seriously got it. A lot of people a lot of people say, oh, you're lucky in that. But it's like, yeah, well, it just fucks with your mind though.
yep.
It's the transition period between, I don't have to do that anymore. It's so weird. And that really made me think, oh my God, how entrenched are we when we go on that hamster wheel and chase the dollar or the pound?
Some of it's probably purpose as well, right?
It's weird. Yeah,
Like
exactly. Yeah.
you derive purpose
Yep.
from the value you create in your job or in your work or whatever it is you're building or servicing.
Yeah,
And then suddenly, if you take that away, you're like, oh, well, now what?
exactly.
And there's and it all the thing is, I think when you're in the middle of the hamster wheel, you're looking out and you think, oh, what I wouldn't give to just have a day off, put my feet up, G&T in the sun or whatever it is. But then when that's the thing that makes that nice is that it's scarce. And then when that's all you've got, you're like, oh, all I do is lay around and drink G&T in the sun. Suddenly you're like, there must be a bit more to life than this, right? So,
Exactly. It's really
what's up,
weird.
Gordy?
Really weird.
Hello, Camel. Hello, Andy. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, all good. It's really weird calling you Andy. I can't lie.
Why? That's
Because
my
I'm so
name.
used to calling you CPM, though.
That's right. You call me whatever. You call me prick if you want.
Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me.
That's fine. I'm sure you call Camel that lots.
I probably call him a lot worse, but
More than likely. So how are you, dude? You all right?
yeah, all good. All good. Can't complain. I haven't been very active for my content at the moment because I've just been absolutely smashed with my normal job. Um, but yeah, trying to get that back to regular business towards closer towards 2025 for sure. But yeah, other than that, all good. How are you?
Absolutely fine, mate. Busy this time of year doing my stuff, but yeah, really good. Had lots of decisions to make, as you're probably aware. Obviously, packed in my other channel. Then had a little dive around doing stuff on Discord, which was a bit of a shame. I enjoyed it, but it was just taking up too much of my time, and I wasn't really concentrating on getting this podcast going. So yeah, I've spent a bit of time trying to suss that out, get these boys in, have a chat on a more regular basis, and enjoy this sort of content really. So that's the way I want to go forward with
Yeah, well,
that.
you've got the ball rolling nicely with the new channel, and it's going really well. I've been enjoying all of it. So
Yeah, it seems to. Yeah, it's just trying to do something a little bit different, a little bit of old school, a little bit of chatting. Try and encourage people to talk a little bit more than just typing. you know, if people want to, they can. If they don't, but if I'm just trying to provide that space for people that do want to, and I kind of enjoy it. We've had some great conversations going forward, and hopefully that'll continue. But I'm still stacking, still doing my gold thing, still doing my silver thing, still addicted to it like I am.
Oh, good to hear. Good to hear.
Oh, mate, yeah, it's mad,
Sorry,
really.
gents, can I be? I'm gonna pop out for a cig, so
Oh,
I'll be absent for 2 minutes.
okay,
Hope you
mate.
can excuse me.
Of course.
No, you crack on, mate.
Thank you.
Crack on.
Yeah, so yeah, it's yeah. I don't think I'll ever stop. I've got a bit of a thing about silver at the moment.
No, it's a hell of a bug to catch.
Oh, mate, it's mad. It's absolutely mad. And you know, in obviously when I've been on the Cobra's channel, you're always in there and you're always active doing stuff. And I see you
Yeah, I am
still.
trying to be as much as I can, but
Yeah.
I work in retail, so you can
Mm,
imagine that this time of year is really busy for me, and I've just become an assistant manager in the company that I work for as well. So I'm
mm,
getting smashed left, right, and centre at the moment,
yeah, you will.
6 day weeks and stuff like that. So
Mm,
it's quite hard to actually find the time to settle down and make a video at the moment, but
yeah.
it's got to be done. And it's crazy. Just like when I started filming, I started stacking a couple months before then. So it's all new to me, seeing all the prices and everything go down, and just seeing what gold and silver's done within the 6 months of me stacking is quite
Mm,
interesting to see, and it sort of makes it more exciting for the future of my stacking as well. So
yeah. How? I've got a great question for you there. Because I suppose, really, over 6 months, all you've seen, you've definitely only seen gold go up, I would have thought.
yeah, I think
And
spot price of silver went up by like £3 or £4, maybe
yeah,
five,
yeah,
but not nothing incredible. But
yeah.
still nice
How,
to see that because spot's about 24, £25 at the moment,
it is, yeah, yeah.
and my first coin was £26.
Oh,
That I
wow.
have my first coin off Cobra was £26. So
Okay.
it's nice to sort of see that it's getting close to that, my first coin and everything like that. So that's sort of getting quite exciting for me.
Yeah. And it's a great question, actually. I can ask you, how has that had an effect on, are you pleased with what you're doing? Or do you ever sit there and think, oh, this can't carry on? Or are you just because that's all you've experienced? Do you have that? I mean, I don't mean this literally. Do you have this expectancy that it's just going to continue, or you sort of at the back of your mind thinking, well, it can't continue, maybe, but it's still worth doing?
Um,
Just
I
your
th-
thoughts
I
on
think
that,
it's
really.
I think it's still worth doing and still continuing with. Just looking at gold charts just in general. Do you know what I mean? I think
Yeah,
you can see that it just carries on going up, and I know it sounds silly because I'm not exactly young. I'm not young, but I'm not old, if that makes sense.
yeah,
But I definitely wish I started this a few years ago because the gains I could have made from them is crazy. But
mm,
yeah, I'm 29 now, so yeah, it would have been really interesting to start
yeah.
like a few years back. But I still think, being 29, I've still got a few good years ahead of me and a few good years of learning and knowing exactly what it's going to do. So I know exactly where I'm going to be with it all. But I'm quite excited to just carry on going with it for the next couple of years, really.
Yeah, good for you. That's really, really cool to hear, to be honest. So, are you still like collecting all sorts of silver stuff? I know you like all your different type of silver coins, or
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I mainly just buy from Cobra, so it's whatever he's getting in, and he recently got quite a few Chinese pandas in, which I managed to get.
okay,
So they're like my new favorite coin to collect. They're really cool, the 30 gram silver pandas.
yeah,
Um, but anything from the Perth Mint, to be honest with you, is really good quality, and I prefer them way more than our Royal Mint over here. So
it's
it's really nice to get because obviously it's just nice to get coins that are hard to get over in the UK. So
yeah. That's really interesting because I think everyone goes on that journey. At some point, the Perth Mint comes in, and because I'm a mad lover of the Perth Mint, stupidly in love with the bloody stuff.
yeah, them and Nui, 100% are my
Yeah,
favourites.
yeah, and it it it's made me realise the difference in my strategy of collecting, stacking, collecting whatever in silver, buying it just as a rule, and it's made me really realise that there's stuff within silver that I really like, and there's stuff in silver that I just buy because if I can get it at the right price, i.e. Britannias or bits and pieces like that. But
Yeah.
I know that's the stuff that is going to be the first to go if I ever get rid of it.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And that's the same with me. I've started to build up a bit more of my CGT exempt. So, for example, every time Cobra has a stream, I at least try and pick up one or two
Yeah,
CGT exempt coins from him,
yeah,
and then a couple from around the world, just so I got a nice little collection of them all.
yeah.
And plus, it gets the more I buy coins that I don't know, the more I go researching into the mints and stuff like that, and the more I broaden my knowledge on it and stuff like that. So, I think that's why I'm more interested in buying loads of different coins, just so I can broaden my knowledge on it all, really.
Yeah, and you used to portray that in your videos when you was posting a lot.
Yeah,
Just like just this coin, and I might have seen it, I might not have seen it, and then you just do this really fabulous. This is what it is. This is how it of what it, the detail of it, where it's from, the vintage, all condensed into a small period of time, and
yeah.
it's great eye candy. It really is.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. No, I am trying to get back into that for 2025. And I think I want to add a couple more things. I think, it might get a little bit boring just seeing all of the different coin reviews. So I need to try and think of a few more different content ideas that I've been brainstorming and stuff. And yeah, I just need to try and implement those ideas into the future. So
And do you see yourself always, always going to be gold and silver, or have you been over to the dark side with your mate? Has he convinced you to do anything different?
well, any like crypto or anything like that?
Yeah.
I've so I actually
Don't go
can't log
into any
into.
detail, dude. Just
No, I can't actually log in or sign up to any crypto. Like, I don't have a in-date passport or driving license at the moment.
oh
So when I
shit,
try
of
and get
course.
verified on, like, say, Coinbase or something like that, I can't even do it because my stuff's out of date. So I have
Oh,
applied for a passport. So when that gets here, I can start definitely having a little dip into it. But I don't know about, with Bitcoin being nearly 100K. I don't know if now's the right time to be buying or not, but I guess Camel will be able to guide me.
yeah. That's interesting. I forgot about all this big KYC thing with all these different places. It's bad enough with some bullion dealers now when you go over certain thresholds that
Yeah,
they you have to produce your driving license and ID and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, and I forgot you have to do the same thing. So
yeah,
more barriers, isn't it?
yeah, that's it.
More barriers.
Me
What
and
about
my sorry,
no? Go on.
me and my brother were talking about this earlier on that for the next cycle we want to go fully no KYC, exit the system, tax that. To quote Michael Saylor, yeah, we were both talking about it earlier that it's just the space has evolved to this place that's like unrecognizable
Yeah.
relative to the short time because we're not OGs by any stretch of the imagination,
No.
but we got in early enough to have seen drastic changes to the space, and we were saying that it wasn't. We were both kind of in agreement that what it is today is not what it was when we first got into it, and yeah, so we were kind of talking about going full no KYC, exit the system, lock it down, and then see what happens thereafter for the next cycle.
Yeah, I've been toying on the idea of probably want to get my new PC set up, start running a node. Been trying to do a little bit of research into that. I don't think it's a bad thing going
Yeah, it's pretty
forward.
straightforward. It's pretty straightforward.
Is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
You
that's
you
all right.
basically just need the blockchain is like 5 or 600 gigabytes, so you need enough storage for that because it's got to download the whole blockchain,
All right.
and then you just run Bitcoin Core on it and connect a wallet to it, and that's pretty much it.
Oh, right. So I could do that on my laptop, I
Your
suppose.
laptop's old, isn't it?
I've got one laptop that I used to use for work for design designing bathrooms and bits and pieces. My son used to
Oh,
use it.
I should say actually, you need to have it running all the time, so it's better to
Yes.
buy like a small box PC
Yeah.
type deal.
All right. Okay.
So you don't have to power it off, because if you power it off, then when you power it back on, it's got to re-download all the additional blocks that have been added.
All right. Okay.
But these days you can buy it for like, I don't know, 200 quid. You can buy a little like desktop PC
Yeah.
and just dedicate that as your node.
Okay. There you go, Gordy. We've got to go Nody.
Well, funnily enough, I've just built a PC for my birthday a couple months ago, so
You're so
but I
clever.
can't leave mine running all the time.
It's a nice
Interesting.
PC you got there actually, Gordy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not bad, not bad. I've got the new monitor and everything as well, so but that's another thing that I can use for editing videos on. That's why half the reason I built it. So just need to learn how to do that for 2025 and find the right program to edit on.
It got one more powerful than the ones that launch rockets from NASA.
Do you do
That's not
gaming?
hard though, is it?
I don't know.
What, like for the moon landing, you mean? Or
Oh no, I don't know. I was just making a sweeping statement.
oh, okay.
Do you do gaming, Gordy?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
All right. Okay. Yeah, my
yeah,
son's the same. His computer's pretty whiz. You
yeah.
go,
That's why.
you go into his bedroom, it's like a spaceship. It's really weird. But that, yeah, a lot of people are doing that, and they're very powerful stuff, aren't they?
Yeah, it's amazing what you can get and what you can build nowadays, really.
He did the
And they're
same.
well, not 10 times cheaper, but they're so much cheaper to build it yourself than it is to buy a pre-built one. You can save like 400, 500 quid on it just because it's pre-built, and they're actually not that difficult. Like it's all just easy slot in bits. You just got to know what you're doing, really. But yeah, it wasn't too difficult. I didn't find.
That's cool. Yeah, maybe that's an option I might go down instead. Because I'm just reliant on going into curries and going, this is what I want to do. What do you reckon? Probably most
Yeah,
people are
I
like
think
that.
if you're looking for like a higher end PC, 100% build your own. But if you're not looking for anything too fancy, and you're literally just running the node on it, then yeah, you
No,
probably
no.
could just walk into Curry's and get a normal desktop one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I want something a bit fancy because we want to take this podcast to another level, and my computer's not good enough for it.
then yeah, 100% build one. I would recommend that.
Yeah, if I get stuck, I'll give you a call.
Yeah, do it. I had to get help from my brother, but I got there in the end. So
Yeah, I think we managed to get my sons together. But he'd done most of it himself, but there's a couple of little things that were a little bit tricky, but we managed to. My stupid logical mind helped him out, so, which is pretty cool. So getting back to the gold and silver bit, you're well on your way by the sounds of it. Are you getting into any? Have you got to the gold bit of your journey yet? Where you're thinking, maybe I
yeah,
might
so
try.
hopefully buying. Well, I'm waiting for gold to dip a tiny little bit more.
Okay,
But yeah, going to buy some more gold. I've got. I don't know how much I've got.
you don't need to say.
No, it's not. Well, I want to say not too much, but in the grand scheme of things, not a lot
Yeah,
of people really own it.
yeah,
So I've got more than the average person, 100%. But
yeah.
yeah,
But it's funny. I was talking to Camel earlier before you come on. You get. I think everyone goes through that stage, and it's like what we was talking about. You start with buying anything, and then you start to specialize, like with silver, and you start to go, oh no, I really like this mint. I like that mint. Why do I want to get those? Da-da. And you go through all that, and then you go through that. Oh, it makes sense to get your own mint CGT stuff, but carry on collecting bits and pieces, and then you go through other. I went through phases where I was probably spending a little bit too much on certain pieces, and it sort of made sense for me to cut back and just go back to CGT stuff. And then you hit the gold thing at some point, and then you go, shall I get into gold? And then you go onto that journey, and then you have this gold silver thing going on in your head. It's really interesting. You sort of at that sort of stage.
yeah, I think so, 100%. The only thing I really haven't looked into 100% or been too keen on is collectibles.
Okay.
So, like, just for example, like the Saint Michael sword and stuff like that, and the Saint
Hmm.
Gabriel. I think it's the Saint Gabriel sword. I can't remember now. I might be getting that wrong.
Yeah.
But those sorts of bits, like, I've never really been too interested in that.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like you can get some like some of the collectibles, the detail on it, I find you can get in just normal bullion coins, or sometimes, you know what I mean, like the Phoenix from, where's it from?
All mint.
That's it, yeah, because you've got them. That's the one. Yeah, the detail on them are amazing. So I'd rather get a couple of them than spend the money on
Yeah,
what I would on a collectible.
exactly.
So
Exactly. Yeah,
but it
this
doesn't. There are some really nice collectibles out there. I just don't think they're my cup of tea, if that makes sense.
yeah. Yeah, it's a funny one really. Because it's just that's like another marketplace on another level again. And for me, going on my journey, it was just fantastic, lovely, because I like art anyway. It's just a fantastic way of investing into art, into silver pieces, until you start to realize how much you're paying for it and not quite thinking about, hang on, that's mounting up, because obviously, with silver, it takes up a lot of space. And then before you know it, you think to yourself, oh my God, I've got too much in the home. Where am I going to put it? And, then I had to think about, oh, I need to outsource it somewhere because I didn't want it lingering around the home. And then I was sitting there thinking, well, why have I got it? Because I can't appreciate the art.
That was kind of my thought. I thought
Yeah,
it's too nice to put into storage as well.
yeah.
So I've just stored all my bullion away. I don't have any of it out on display. I've got a copper coin case that I have out on display in my room. But
Mm.
other than that, I don't have any of my bullion out. And I thought there's no point in me buying all these nice like collectible things if I'm just going to shove them into a box under away somewhere. So
Yeah, it's all part of that journey, isn't it? And I think if you can get to that part of the journey, it means that you're actually taking that investment. I don't want camel things, but it means you're thinking about what you're doing. And I think that's really healthy rather than just going, well, not I ain't bothered. It becomes like, in my eyes, it becomes really stupid to do that because you're not thinking about what you're doing and how you're spending your money, back to time and energy again.
yeah.
So obviously you must be at that stage. That's cool.
Yeah, no, like I said, like you said, I appreciate the artwork and everything on them and stuff, but yeah, I just think it's more of an investment thing than me collecting art pieces,
Mm,
silver. So
yeah. And I'm sure your mate will advise you.
let's hope so.
He's going to
Are
sleep.
you
No,
are
there's
you
a
gents? If we are trading above $50 for silver by Q1 of next year, will you be interested in selling?
$50 or £50.
Well, I always look at the dollar value, so
Yeah, I find that interesting. I'll ask you why in a minute, but
it's just a trader thing. Like the brokers price it in dollars because the dollar is the world reserve currency. So if I go on my broker, I won't, unless I specifically ask for silver GBP. Even then, I'm not even sure my broker offers that, to be honest. I think it only offers the dollar pair. So because of that, it's no point me looking at the pound chart. But for me, if it goes above $50 in the next couple of months, which I expect it to, then I'm going to be dumping a bunch of mine.
that's a really good question. Gordy, you can answer it.
So what's dollars into pounds? That's about 40, isn't it?
40, 45, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, I will probably, yeah,
Hmm.
my CGT stuff can go, and then I can just convert that to gold maybe. But yeah, I think I'll sell some of mine 100%.
Let me have a look. Sorry, I'm just having a look. £39. It's $50.
It's not nearly as impressive, is it?
No, doesn't
No,
sound as
it's
good,
not.
does it?
But there is a maximum upside target that I have of $70. So then we're looking more like £50, aren't we?
Yeah.
If it's £50, it can all go. I'm saying goodbye to my whole lot,
Really?
and I'll convert that to gold,
Yeah, I think that's a good call.
or at least a good chunk of mine, the bits that I'm not like attached to, like my Chinese pandas or something like that. Or I'd keep all my poured silver or anything like that. I've got a couple of pieces of poured silver, but yeah, all my CGT would 100% go at that price.
Do you reckon silver's going to go without gold?
No,
'Cause
I
that's
think they're
going
both going to go.
so that's going to affect your crossover ratio, isn't it? Selling one
That's
to
the
get
only,
another.
yeah, that's the only problem.
Yeah, I think they're both going to go. But the difference is, I think gold will hold most of its gains. I think silver will come all the way back down to where it is now.
God, what a good question.
Which is why I want to sell the physical silver, because I am convinced that if it goes above $50, it will then crash immediately back down to 20, $25. And I think gold will go up to maybe like 3,000 and then crash back to 2,500, but that's not as nearly as severe as silver going to 50 and all the way back to 2025.
No.
And if I'm right about that and it does go all the way back to 2025, I might even buy a bunch more silver.
Yeah.
But for me, I think we're looking at a pump and dump for silver, so that's why I'm looking to get rid of a bunch of my silver there.
What makes you think that, dude?
What makes me think that?
Mm.
The charts.
Okay.
I think it's in the charts.
That's like saying that to me, the charts is like listening to Mystic Meg say
Yeah,
something.
Mercury in retrograde.
Come on, dude. The charts are based on something, aren't they?
Yeah.
So are you going to share that or not?
Oh, okay. You want me to give you a bit more detail? Well, I
Yeah,
think.
please.
Sorry, I
Be
didn't.
nice.
I didn't know you were asking me a question.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry.
So I think we're going to find a weekly cycle low, then have this
Yeah.
big blow off top move, as you know, and then I think something's going to break. And when something breaks, I think everything's going to come tumbling down. And when everything comes tumbling down, people will they'll become forced sellers of anything to generate liquidity, and that's how gold and silver get sold off, particularly silver, because silver is a higher beta asset to gold. So silver will get sold off harder and faster. And that's what makes me think it comes all the way back down to the range. And then I think it will probably trade sideways for a while and eventually work its way up to some ridiculously high numbers. But I'm kind of using the expected pump if it plays as a way to just take some profit and then think about reallocating after it comes back down. I mean, if you're a long-term holder and believer and you don't mind riding out big ups and downs for the next 8 to 10 years, then I don't think it makes a difference. You can just hold it and hope that you get $200 to $300 at the end of the decade. And I think that's reasonable. I
Yeah.
genuinely do.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I'm kind of looking at it like I bought a bunch of silver many, many years ago. I've been stacking it for a long time and I've never sold any of it. So I'm kind of thinking, yeah, like I said, if it pumps above 50, I'll dump a bunch of it. And then if it goes back down, I might even buy it back. And if it doesn't go back down, well, whatever. I made a nice trade. And it's nice to realize the profit.
Gets back to what we was talking about earlier, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Oh, did I miss the bit that explaining why it would go up?
Why it would go up?
Mm.
Just
Did you?
weekly cycle low. The weekly cycle's due.
Oh, right. Okay.
And I think we're just going to get this I think gold is just in a well-established bull market and it's
Sure.
relatively early in its 8 year cycle. And gold has been doing really well of late, as you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but silver and the miners haven't really been following.
No.
And that to me has been because we needed to find a weekly cycle low first.
Yeah.
And once we find that weekly cycle low and then gold continues up, that will alert the rest of the market to the fact that this gold bull market is for real. And then you get to this situation where people are looking at nearly $3,000 gold and they're saying, well, I can't really afford $3,000 ounce, but I can afford silver. And that's how you get the demand for silver come in. That's my speculation.
That would make sense to why my spider sense is what we was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Might just have to accelerate what me and my son are doing.
I mean, you'll know if I'm right because in the next couple of weeks we'll find some lows. And if I'm right,
Yes.
then it's going to go into berserk mode pretty much straight away.
Yeah.
So if we find some lows for gold and gold starts and silver doesn't start really blasting off, then I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But if by the time we're having Christmas dinner, silver is looking like it's going near vertical on its way to 50 plus bucks, then you
Yeah.
know I'm right. And then
Yeah.
this setup is valid.
Yeah. We're looking about mid-December, aren't we?
Yeah.
15th
Mid
onwards, roughly.
yeah, mid to late December.
Yeah.
End of the second, early third week for the low. And
See,
then after that,
I do my homework.
you do.
Oh,
Goldie's been
that's,
Goldie's been tracking it as well.
has he?
Goldie. Goldie's been tracking it as well,
Goldie.
yeah.
I've
Good
been
man.
trying to.
Here's the trade. I really do think there's a trade there. It just
Yeah, and
feels
the other
like
thing
it's
about
really weird.
silver is you don't often get a chance to dump the
No.
physical. Like when you buy silver, you kind of have to accept that you're buying it because you're going to hold it for a long time, right?
Yeah.
You pay the premium, you pay the VAT in the UK, blah blah blah. But I think this is a nice opportunity for anyone that's been stacking for any length of time to let some go on a quick pump and dump if it plays. But like I said, we'll know if it does or not. Calculator. That calculator is older than me, innit? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Yeah, it is older than you, but it works. Oh
Definitely older than
God.
Gordy.
Yeah. Yes, mate. I would get rid of some for sure. Some. I'd be a little bit
You just
cagey about it.
calculating how many millions you'll get for it.
Well, not millions. There was some noughts involved, but not, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Not that many.
No, no, not at all. That's interesting. That is really interesting. And I like the idea of like getting back in as well. If it does pump, because you get more, don't you?
Well, for me, this is like a lose-lose trade. No, wait. What the?
I
A
know
win-win trade.
exactly.
Freudian slip.
Wow.
We're all messed up. No, this is I can't lose. I think that's what I was trying to say. I can't lose in this trade. So if, like I said, weekly cycle low, pop up above 50 bucks, right? If I sell it and I'm right, it's going to go all the way back to 2025. Happy days, right? We cashed out. We can buy it back if we want. If not, we'll laugh all the way to the bank with the gains. If I'm wrong, then we still made 100 odd percent from a year ago on the trade. That's not to be sneezed at. And then that money can be reallocated at gold at a daily cycle low, which I think is going to be way less volatile and do better than silver over the longer term. So that's how I'm looking at it personally. I don't really think we can mess this up. You're on mute, mate.
You've got me thinking. That's why. Oh dear. Oh,
You're
I
not even
like it.
drinking, are you?
No, mate. No.
No, you're doing it.
I'm. I'm after my last escapade with Camel and drink. I've been a very good boy. He's a bad influence. I
Yeah,
was
yeah, you're not wrong.
I was terrible that night was terrible. I want to do another live, but I can't do it like that. I really can't. That wasn't good. Was not good. Poor old Camel. But I've been a good boy since. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense with the old. Yeah, hell of a lot. And cool. Yeah, and it kind of makes sense because you're going to. I don't know. This sort of it makes you even psychologically you feel like you're getting more for your money because you're buying it at like a lower pound denomination with silver. I'm on about to do that as a trade. Interesting.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if it plays. Like I
Mm,
said, it'll be really obvious in
yeah,
a
it will
couple of
be.
weeks.
It will be. Time to get some good. Then the dilemma is getting rid of it, isn't it?
Yeah,
At a physical level,
yeah.
um, unless we can convince Cobra. He hasn't come on, has he?
No,
Unless we can convince Cobra to buy it all.
I don't think he's going to want to buy it at 50 plus bucks. I think he's going to be a heavy seller at 50 bucks.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Oh, God. Why have you got me thinking that way? Interesting conversation I will have with my son tomorrow. So do we not see any downside with buying gold and silver? Is there a downside?
I mean, it's an asset, right? It could always go down. That's always a risk, but it seems like the downside is pretty contained to me.
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't want to put my whole net worth in it.
No. You,
As always, keep it balanced, right? It's a percentage or a piece of your portfolio.
yeah.
But I think you'd be hard pressed to lose a bunch of money on it if you allocate correctly. I think as long as you're not oversized and over leveraged, you'd be just fine.
I'm not sure I want to put this video out afterwards, you know. It
Why is that?
might give people too many people the heads up.
That's what it's about, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know,
I might be flat wrong, Andy. I might be flat wrong.
yeah, but you can't. To be fair, mate, in my eyes, you know, no one's going to. I'm not. Hopefully, nobody listening is going to back up the bus and sell their house or get overextended on their mortgage to go out and buy silver. That's a dumb thing to do.
At least one donut will. They always do. There's always one, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know what it's like. People just. This is why I get a little bit hesitant talking about certain things sometimes, because it promotes. Some people just look at, oh yeah, okay, Camel said this or Andy said that, or and Gordy was on there, so he must know as well. It's it it is such a dilemma sometimes. It really is. I don't think we realise sometimes how much of an influence we can have on certain people when we talk about this sort of stuff. So do your research. Got to do your research. It's kind of exciting, especially when you get a calculator out that's older than Camel. I suppose you guys use your phones, don't you, for all that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
probably don't own a calculator. From last time I owned one would have been my maths exam for school. So
you don't need one, do you?
no.
To be
Don't
fair,
need
they
it.
were all wrong, right? They all told you when you're older, you won't always have a calculator. And they were dead wrong about that.
100%.
They were dead wrong.
So, is there any downside to silver or gold? I don't think there is there?
Well, let's play the advocate.
Go on.
If you're
I like
buying it
that.
now, you're going to pay a premium. In the UK, you're going to pay VAT. Then when you go to sell it, they're probably going to be somewhat reluctant if you've got size to buy it. And they're going to give you spot, which is going to drastically reduce your profit margin, right? Like when you take into account the premium, the VAT, everything else, and the bid, and then when you put it on the ask, they're going to give you spot. So that's going to eat your gains for sure. If you're already in it from a long time ago and much lower down, then I think you're in a much better position to not suffer so much, whatever the word is, decay
Yeah.
of profits. If you're a paper trader, then I suppose it doesn't matter at all. And we should probably point out the risk, right? If we find a weekly cycle low and start to bounce and then something goes bang, recession, whatever it is, then it's only reasonable to expect them to trade lower as well in the short term because they're, in crashes, correlations 10 to 1. Everything crashes at the same time. I
Yeah.
expect them to be the first and the fastest to recover,
Yeah.
but as with any asset, there is always downside risk.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. Is how if there's a mad crazy session within silver, how the dealers will react to premium on them, whether they're going to, take advantage of that and up the premiums on it as people do.
They always do.
Yeah. So there's a lot to maybe just take into consideration when you're thinking about doing this sort of stuff and having a really good relation. I suppose, try and, yeah, I suppose there's some advantage to actually having a relationship with a dealer. So you've got that, if you need to move something, you've got that relationship to possibly move it. Over a good bit of,
Do you know?
do you, do you think?
Do you know what I saw in the COVID crash?
Mhm.
The spot price went very, very low, very quick. But when you went to buy physical, it hardly adjusted down at all. And there's two ways to look at it. One is that they're greedy, or there's three ways. One is that they're greedy and they don't want to sell you it for cheap, right? The other way to look at it is that they don't want you to own it, so they keep the premiums high, or they don't want you to profit, so they don't want you to be successful, or whatever. They don't want you to break free and escape the matrix. I think the most realistic answer is the third option, and that is they probably buy it at current market value. And then if the price drops all the way to $10 an ounce,
Yeah,
they're not going to sell it to you for a 50% loss,
no,
right? So that's why you don't see the physical metal trade down as much. And so in the COVID crisis and the COVID crash, you were better off playing the metals markets by like futures or paper gold. And if you wanted to buy it, you had to pay significantly more than the spot price during the crash. But again, I think that's largely speaking because they probably buy en masse pre-crash and they're just not going to sell it to you for a massive loss right at the lows. But it is worth pointing that out that if we did have some kind of big crash, if let's just say hypothetically silver trades down to $15 an ounce, you're probably not going to be able to buy it at 15 because
no,
they're not going to take the loss on it.
no. Unless they're trying to buy in at that new price
Yeah.
from the mints. So yeah, I was going to say that actually. They're not going to, if they're in a position that they don't have to sell it, they're not going to sell it to you at a cheap price because they're
Yeah,
going to
that's
just
right.
well take too much of a hole. I mean, Cobra already does that now. You know, it's a certain. That's why he hates it. Like when he comes up to his auction sometimes, and he talks like, "Oh bloody hell, gold and silver's come down." You know, so it works against him a little bit.
Yeah, I've experienced this in jewelers as well,
Mm.
where you go into a jewelers and they say, "Oh, it's this much money," and you go, "How's that work?" And it's because they bought their stock
Mm.
when the price was significantly higher than on the day.
Yeah,
So, but you can't blame them, right? They can't
no,
take as a business, they can't
no,
take huge losses.
of course I can't, unless they're forced to.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
if it meant the difference between your business going under or not, and you have to, then I'm sure people would do that. But yeah, it's a really good point that I think premiums will be an interesting if that happens. So there's some validity there in paper version, isn't there?
well, paper's definitely easier.
Mm,
There's counterparty risk, but
of course.
everything's trade-offs.
Yeah. Mm.
I like the paper for trading.
Yeah, as I said like earlier on the video, um, that's something. Even my son, like, there's no harm in having a percentage in paper because of that very aspect. It's so easy to trade. Well, it's easy for me to get rid of. That's for sure. If I wanted to,
Yeah.
it kind of makes sense. But then a lot of people say, "Oh, yeah, but you can't feel it, you can't touch it, counterparty risk, all that." Well, I haven't gone to the guy just round the corner that's just set up some sort of internet trading thing. Gone to a very well established thing. Doesn't
Yeah.
guarantee anything, but
This is the difference between like a short-term trade and a longer-term hold, right? If it's the
yeah,
longer-term hold, you probably want the physical.
yeah, yeah,
And if
for
you're just
sure.
looking to catch a low
Yeah.
and sell it after it pops back up, then probably paper's the way to do it.
Mm. Yeah, it
Sorry to
makes sense.
interrupt. I'm going to shoot off because I can't really stay for very long. I was just popping in to say hello.
Oh, sorry, dude.
That's all good. But thank you for having me, and
That's all
hopefully
right.
we'll chat soon.
No problem at all. Thank you for coming on. It's been
Yeah,
lovely.
thank you very much. Cheers, Andy. Camel, I'll see you soon, no doubt.
Yep. Cheers, Gord.
Cheers, guys. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye
See
bye.
ya. Bye. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? All these all these little things you have to think about. But that's your alpha, isn't it? That's
Yep.
your experience, you know, more than anything. Yeah, I can't even imagine what it must be like if you're sitting on 1,000 ounces or 2,000 ounces of physical or whatever. I'm thinking, oh shit, I'll need to get rid of this quickly. What do I do?
Yep.
You know, it's a thing, isn't it? It's definitely a thing,
Yeah.
without a doubt. You keep saying, yep.
No, it is. It is a thing.
I thought Ken might have dropped in tonight.
Apparently not.
No, doesn't like us. Cobra hasn't dropped in.
Nope.
Boo. He's he's probably fast asleep. Well, he can't be. He shouldn't be if he's working.
Yeah, working.
Hmm. Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. So, what are you looking forward to this week, mate? Anything?
Um, no, not really.
No.
Not really.
One of those times, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just kind of slowly. I'm just in. Mrs. Camel's got a week off,
Yep.
so we'll probably go out for lunch with the dog. I've got to take the dog to the vet, as I said right at the start,
Yep.
get his ears sorted out. But we like to take the dog. I like to take the dog and the wife to a couple of pubs in the area.
Yeah.
Um, one of them does a really good lamb shank.
Ooh, very
Yeah,
nice.
so might go and do that. Um, hunting that weekly cycle low for gold. That's another thing. And hoping Bitcoin can clear 100K. That's probably the focus for the week.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I'm kind of watching the stock market closely in case it breaks down. It's been really weird. Every day I wake up and I expect it to break down. And I'm like, oh no, okay, we're still going up. Fine. But at some point, it is probably going to break down. So keeping an eye out for that because I want to be out when it does.
Of
Um,
course.
and yeah, other than that, just a standard week, I think, pretty much. I've done my Christmas shopping.
Yeah. That's the other thing I was going to ask you. Are you a Christmassy family?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Nice.
Are you?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, we love it. Especially, I love it even more when the kids were young. But it's kind of nice when the little man was with us last year. That always brings back lots of memories. It
Yeah.
goes, yeah, it's great. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic times. And I love it when the family gets together and I like cooking and it's like social time as well, isn't it?
Yeah. 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 Here I
More than
Gordy was like, "What do you want for Christmas?" Right? And normally I'd just give him something, but this year I was like, you know what? I want you to pick, and I want to be like really moved by it. It's like I don't care how much it costs or anything like that. I just want you to pick something that shows you put a lot of thought into it. And every time I see him, he's like, bruv, what is this Christmas gift request? Like, I can see him stressing about it, and I'm like, come on, man, find me something, put some thought into it.
that's yeah, but that's the old way of doing it, isn't it? It's
Yeah, bless him. He's driving like 2 hours this week
yeah, he's
to
saying
go to go and to go to like a city to do some Christmas shopping to try and find something.
nice.
And he just sent me a coffee machine. He's like, "Can I have that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll buy you that."
Oh, fantastic. It is cool. Christmas is good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be really good.
Yeah, it brings back a lot of memories. Um, I'm like you. I'm expecting some weird stuff in December and January. I don't know what it is, but
You can feel
kind
it
of
in the air, right?
it's weird. It's so strange. I kind of want to be excited for. It's an interesting one for you because I know you sit on the same hymn sheet. I kind of feel excited that there's a possibility that some good might come out of all the shit that's been going on for I don't know how long.
Okay.
But I kind of don't want to believe it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's really weird. I've really got that spiritual faithy thing that maybe the world's going to change. Might take a bit of time, obviously, but maybe. But I don't know. Again, I just feel like when I say this, I've been so indoctrinated into No, you're just a peasant. It's going to be all the same. You're going to be disappointed. It ain't going to go whatever. But I don't know how that's going to manifest itself over the next couple of months. One way or the other, obviously. Sorry.
I think I really want to believe it, but
Mm.
that whole fourth turning thing kind of suggests we have to have some hard times first.
Hmm.
So, like, I think, yeah, we can move into the first turning, but we got to have the fourth one first, right? And that means everything's got to come tumbling down. So that kind of keeps me from being too optimistic. But then,
That's
how does
that's
it have to be really bad? I'm not by no means am I expecting the end of the world or anything like that. But I
that's
know what you mean. Like, there's plenty of signs out there, right? Like that maybe, just maybe, we're going to have less censorship and more free speech and more pro humanity stuff. Maybe some good times are coming.
but what you saying about the full turning aspect, this sounds awful for me to say this. I kind of would accept going having to, this is personal, a fight to get through that stage if I knew that there was a better outcome.
Yeah, it's like ripping the band-aid off, right?
Yeah,
Like get it done.
yeah,
Have the flush. Let's get it over with. We'll grind through it,
yeah,
and then times get better.
yeah. Because
Yeah.
I kind of feel that that will pull the real. It sounds awful. The real men out
Yep.
where you can just knuckle down. Okay, we need to stand together, get through this. What can we do? And innovation from that can be massive,
Yep.
absolutely massive. But I do fear that the majority of, you're like this, the way I'm going to say this because it reminded me of your video, the majority of the participants, because you say that a lot,
Yeah.
the majority of the participants will struggle with that.
Yep.
And that's the bit that are, is anybody big enough at the top of the table to be able to have lived with that, to think that's on my watch, I did that. And that could be quite catastrophic to a lot of people.
Yep.
And that's the reason why I think, ooh, will it happen? Will they push it? Will they push it
Some,
down the road?
something's definitely going on, man. Like
Yeah,
they've been exposing a bunch of stuff. The whole like guy with the island,
yeah.
and most famously, or most recently, that famous rapper.
Did he? I
Yep,
think, did he, was it? Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, and a whole bunch of stuff in between that, before and after.
yeah.
And I think they're kind of slowly but surely kind of drip feeding or trickling this stuff into the public eye. They're slowly but surely letting people know
Hmm.
that the world ain't quite what it seems, and maybe there's a lot of evil. And if there's a lot of evil, that kind of implies there's a spiritual component or a metaphysical component to this realm. And yeah, it seems like we're building up to a point of something crazy is going to happen, something we haven't seen before. Can't help but feel that deeply in my intuition.
Well, it's there, dude, for sure.
So it'll be interesting to see what
Yeah.
happens. I see a lot of people pointing at like Trump and saying, "Oh, he's going to save the world." I don't really think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be something completely different. And I see a lot of people as well saying things like, "Oh, well, he's going to save the economy," but I don't think they realize that anything he does won't have an impact for 12 to 18 months. Like changes to economic policy take 12 to 18 months to work themselves through the system.
Yeah.
So, so I don't think he can save it or stop it. He might be able to dampen the blow later on, stop the severity of any decline. But short term, I don't think he can stop it.
I'm going to run this one by you.
Yeah, go on.
It's just come to me. Or could it be something so shocking that it makes everybody, or the majority of people, stop?
Yeah, aliens.
See that tweet? Could it be that? Could it be that final? Here you go. You've got to change. That's what it feels like to me. Of
That
what
is that is what I think is most likely.
the shock.
Yeah, I really do. I really do. The thing is, you got to be careful when you talk about this stuff because people go, "That guy's schizophrenic." But
Yeah, that's fine.
I really think it is going to be something like that. I
Hmm.
really do. Um, yeah, I
How
really
el-
do. I really
how
do think it's
el-
going to be something
how
like
el-
that.
yeah, how else can you get the attention of the majority of the people on the planet, good and bad, good or bad?
Yeah,
How can you get that attention?
that would be one way to do it,
Mm.
and that would cause some chaos. It would because do you know the interesting thing about this, right?
Yeah.
If that is what presents, it completely tears government down straight away because the
Yeah.
whole premise of the government is in charge and in control and essentially plays God.
Mm.
But if suddenly you get aliens show up, then they're no longer the top dog,
No.
right? No longer. So then all of a sudden people will stop respecting the government because they're like, oh, they're not in charge. They can't even control that.
Yeah.
So as wild as it sounds, I would not at all be surprised if we see some crazy stuff.
Yeah. 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 Makes sense. Interesting, isn't it? And yeah, it is interesting because then the right people can do the right thing.
Yeah. It's just going to be really weird. It's going to be super weird.
Um, if that did happen, dude, I wouldn't be surprised.
No, this is the thing, right? This is the funny thing is it's like it's been setting itself up to present for a while. Humanity has reached a point where it is now willing to accept it. This is what's so curious to me is is people have been kind of joking about it for years. Like, yeah, the aliens will be here soon, or whatever. Like, oh, we had the pandemic, we had 9/11, we had all these other things, right? GFC, the dot com bubble, blah, blah, blah. The aliens will be here eventually. People have been joking about it. And then it was like the whole WEF Klaus Schwab stuff. It was like, oh, there's going to be a fake alien invasion at the end of the decade, and they're going to try to use it to usher in a one world government. But I kind of can't help but think that the universe kind of creates this way of organizing itself and humanity to accept this. And humanity kind of seems almost ready to accept it now. And I honestly think it's linked to the whole Diddy Epstein stuff. Like they've allowed that stuff to come out, and that enables people to look at this stuff and go, well, okay, there's a lot of evil in this world. Why is there a lot of evil? And the people that look into it more see that these kind of people worship this kind of weird dark stuff, and that's why they do this kind of ritualistic type behavior. And more people than ever are now aware of this stuff.
Mm.
Right? More people than ever are. I don't like to use the term awake so much, but for lack of a better term, like more people have come to realize that the world isn't what it seems, and it's run by some certain types of people, and these people are very heavily interested in ritualistic type behavior and ceremonies and evil type things. And it kind of all feels like at least from my perspective, it feels like the universe is organizing itself and humanity into this way of being ready to accept great change. That's how I've kind of been perceiving it. And so,
That's interesting as well because just to tag into what you're just saying there, honestly believe they are losing the youth because the youth don't believe in it anymore. They don't believe in in this hierarchy system.
yeah, because it doesn't serve them anymore. It doesn't
No,
reward them anymore.
not
At
at
least
all.
once upon a time, if you bought into the system, it would reward you in the sense that you could get a job and get a house and raise a family.
Yeah,
But now it has collapsed to the point where it doesn't even put meat on the table,
no,
right? There is no table. They still have to live with mum and dad.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So how can they have faith in a system that no longer serves them in any way, shape, or form?
Hmm.
It used to at least give you, like I said, bread and board, so to
Yeah,
speak. And then that would be enough motivation for you to play along, follow the game, and keep your head down and not ask questions. But yeah, you're right. Like now they're just completely withdrawn into the digital world. They don't care. And why should they? because they go out and earn money and it doesn't put a roof over their head anymore,
No,
right?
not at all. It yeah, it makes sense to. I'm glad we talked about that. I remember what I said to you on one of our podcasts before. I said to you that I've never felt like I've belonged here. I've just been here to serve a purpose.
Yeah.
And one day, hopefully, I'll go home, wherever home is.
Do you know about um
A lot of,
ontology?
sorry, a lot of people will probably think he's lost it. He's totally lost it.
They will, but this is the funny
I
thing.
don't
Like,
care anymore.
this is the funny thing. There's the scientific system has this view that if you remove all the humans, right, all consciousness from the earth,
Yep,
then everything else still exists.
yep,
Which, like, the planet will still be here, the moon, the sun, whatever, the solar system is all still here. But there's another way to look at this from like a more metaphysical perspective, in that if you remove all of the conscious units from this planet, none of it exists. Because without consciousness, there is nothing else. Consciousness creates existence, right? And
yep,
we see this in some areas of science, like in quantum mechanics, you have the double slit experiment,
yep,
where light behaves either as a particle or a wave, depending on whether or not you're observing it.
yep.
And it's really curious to me that science is so limited because it has this kind of structured organization. It's very rigid in its thought processes, right? It's like, oh, this is how it is. It has to fit in our model, or else it's BS, right? Or else it's. But as soon as you start to apply this kind of like metaphysical approach, and you can spot it, there are traces of this. Like I said, with the quantum mechanics, right? Like consciousness needs to be able to observe things to give the ability for things to become fixed.
Yeah.
And so with this in mind, it seems to me that the universe has this weird way of pushing things in a certain direction, and it comes out in our conscious experience, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's very strange, but at the same time, it makes a lot more sense than the rigid scientific view, which, like I said, is just like everything is observable, and if you take all humans off of the planet, like it still exists, it still just spins around and floats. But I don't really buy into this. I really genuinely think that the consciousness gives rise to this reality. And as a result, it seems to be leaking information
Mm.
into everyone else's field. And everyone seems to be slowly but surely coming to the same conclusion.
Mm.
And this is why I think the aliens thing has a lot more merit than people would give it credit to.
Yeah.
Because we have never been more ready and willing to accept aliens than now, right? Like if you were to bring aliens here 10 years ago, this would have completely blown people's minds. They wouldn't have been able to comprehend it. But in the last 10 years, the universe has been kind of organizing itself into this way in which slowly but surely the government has been creating a space force, right? the There has been like plenty of leaks and information, declassified information being leaked out and blah blah blah. And it just would not at all surprise me
Uh,
if that is what is coming in the not too distant future.
yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be.
And it also seems to me, sorry to butt in, it seems to
That's fine.
me like that whole metaphysical component has been brought to the attention. Again, consciousness gives rise to existence. So the collective consciousness has kind of given rise to this whole process because one by one, people have been being awakened to this whole process. That's what I think this whole Epstein Island thing is, the Diddy stuff. There's a reason for that. It's not at first, at face value, you just go, oh, these are some sick people that do some abusive things. But then after a while, you realize, like, oh no, these are really like a ritualistic cult that do this to harvest and worship things, harvest energy and worship things that they believe in, whether they're right or wrong, whether they're real or not. That's their belief system. And then slowly but surely, the more you kind of immerse yourself in this, the more you have to come to the conclusion that there is a metaphysical component to this, right? Because if there's this much evil in the world, there has to be some kind of good to balance it out. There has to be some kind of creator force. And do you know in the last 2 years, the Bible sales have smashed records for all prior years?
Really
More people have been buying Bibles in the last couple of years than all prior years combined. And
interesting.
yeah, since this whole pandemic thing, like I said, it has awakened people to a lot of the evil in the world. And in awakening to evil, you kind of realize there must be a creator of some sorts. And that's not necessarily saying that you should be this religion or that religion or subscribe to any organized religion at all. But
Sure.
this whole idea that the universe has a metaphysical component seems to be organizing itself, to me at least, so that it's almost ready to reveal the next level to humanity. And I think humanity is now almost ready to accept that next level, which means that possibly times are going to get very, very interesting very, very soon.
And it kind of, oh, I don't know, mate. It sort of kind of makes sense because I've never really openly talked about it too much. That's why I like having these conversations with you. But that would kind of sort of make sense with what's bugging me innerly, and something that has been bugging me for so long that I can never put my finger on it. Oh, you've heard me talk about it before. There's a purpose here, but I really don't. It isn't anything about anything I've done. I'm not taking it away. I've loved everything that I've done, da, 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 but I've never felt there's something missing. And a lot of people say, "Oh, you need to go to church." No, no, I've done all that. I've done so much stuff, never fulfilled. Something innerly has always been missing, and it kind of feels that that purpose will be fulfilled at some point soon. But I don't know what it is yet. But it kind of feels that, yeah, maybe, and there's probably loads of people out there that feel the same thing. I could probably go down that rabbit hole and meet a whole community of people that feel the same way. And then, because I would imagine at some point, if it all depends on how whatever manifests itself in whatever way. I, the funny thing is, if it's done in a small way, most people will think it's fake in
Yeah,
today's day and age.
yeah.
And it's not going to really have that impact because most people go, yeah, whatever, whatever. Yeah, spaceship over wherever. Yeah, whatever. How did they do that? AI.
Hmm. Yep.
No one would believe anything. Um, so that, but the other major impact is obviously either total devastation. Someone lets off a nuke and gets everyone's eyes. Oh shit! Or it's got to be. Wow, I wouldn't even know what it would be really. It's kind of exciting. I don't fear it because that's the next thing. Would that instigate fear? Does that instigate, oh, we've got to battle now or whatever, what humanity's like. But for me, I don't think I'd fear it.
No, I don't. I don't.
I'd be
Because of
like,
natural law,
yeah,
right? It doesn't make sense. Like that if anything was to come here, it would have any hostility because it wouldn't want to bind itself to the karma of wiping out an entire planet.
yeah.
It wouldn't want to do that.
Well, I think we're programmed enough to be able to do that ourselves. They don't
Yeah.
rely on anyone else.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I don't know. It's weird. It is a weird one, but it hasn't. It's really cool to be able to talk to you, and I don't hide away from it anymore. I don't care what people think about what I think. Like, it's really healthy to be able to express it,
Yeah.
and I think most people would probably not really disagree in the right circumstances if they was
Yeah,
to really think about it.
I absolutely agree with what you're saying about feeling like there's a purpose.
Mm,
I do. I really do think the universe is organizing itself in a way to kind of
mm,
let people know they have a purpose. Everyone's here for something different,
mm.
highest expression of their individualized soul.
Yeah,
It's it's wild, man. It's
it
wild.
is really wild.
I genuinely think by the time we get to March, it's gonna be unrecognizable. Like I genuinely like one of two things is gonna happen. Either we're gonna get to March and nothing has changed, and I'll be like, okay, maybe I'm actually mental. Or we're gonna get to March and things are gonna be unrecognizable. I really think that. Genuinely, I believe that.
By my birthday,
Is it?
yeah, March the 13th.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah, by my birthday.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's not sure whether we're ready, but we'll find out. We'll find out. I don't know. I mean, 'cause the other thing I think about is like, unfortunately, if you go on these deep dives, sometimes you look at the reality, you go down the rabbit holes of what's happening to young children. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And maybe, when you look at the whole aspect, well, I don't know, just from a spiritual point of view, you come to this planet, you're born through whatever. Maybe it's at a stage where it's just getting so abused. This got to stop. All this, what people refer to Satanism and occultness and destroying human beings for gain of whatever, and it all seems, all this trafficking thing seems to be coming to light. There's certain podcasters now saying, well, hold on a minute, 300 and something thousand kids go missing in the US and no one's saying anything. People are talking about it now, so maybe the universe is saying to us all, like, this can't keep going on. This is too far, as you said, too far the other way.
Yeah,
We've got to rebalance this somehow.
yeah, that's really what I think. I think it is. I
Mm,
think it has had enough of people being on autopilot.
mm,
And I think it is. I think it is. It's deliberately pointing this out. I think it's leaving a breadcrumb trail, slowly but surely conditioning people to be more accepting and more understanding of what is actually happening, so that we can progress to whatever the next step is.
yeah, interesting, isn't it?
It is, and I also could never get away from the fact that like this stuff's been going on forever,
Mm,
and they always got away with hiding it.
mm,
And then all of
yeah,
a sudden, it was like, hey, let's just tell everyone about this on the mainstream media.
yeah,
They fully control that.
yeah,
They choose what comes over it. And I can't help
mm,
but think it's like all by design. It's like they're deliberately trying to let people know
yeah,
that there'd be some evil going on. And that
yeah,
kind of forces people to look around them.
yeah.
And
Interesting,
in
isn't it?
discovering evil, you become more spiritual. Unless you're a total psychopath that thrives off of the evil, then you're forced to examine the other side of it, I think.
I, yeah, I agree with you because you need to try and make sense of what's going on,
Yeah.
and the only way you can as I said, the only way, because I'm not an expert, but the only way for me to make sense of what is to go deep within myself to try and understand myself more than what I've been programmed to understand about myself, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's yeah, it's fascinating. It's exciting.
It's a weird one because I remember, I remember a few years back thinking to myself, if I ever became a billionaire and then some people came to me and said, hey, we want you to come and take part in these rituals, let's call it, these abusive type things. There's like no amount of money on the planet that could get me to be anywhere near anything like that. Like it makes me feel sick even thinking about it. And I couldn't help but ask myself the question, like, why is it? Why is it all these rich people love that stuff? Why is it they all seem to be somewhat involved in it? Right. And this is very much what led me towards there being a metaphysical component to the universe. Because have to kind of, after a while, you have to realize like, not everyone is that psychopathic. There has to be something that happens for taking part. There has to be something that makes these people say, okay, it's worth my gain. Like, there has to be a gain for them to do it. Not every billionaire can be a just complete psychopath and an abuser, right? It doesn't work like that. So why is it then? And the more I started to look into this stuff, like I said, the more you realize that they do this because it's all about energy and spirituality and worshiping some dark stuff. And it's absolutely effective. Like it works. And that's even weirder. And that for me was like a real shocking moment. I was like, oh, okay, it's not a coincidence that these boys club people are all into some pretty nefarious stuff. It's not it's not a coincidence by any means, right? And they don't do it just because they all happen to be that way inclined. They do it because there is, like I said, a spiritual component to this, and they can use that for their benefit. And so all of this kind of learning led me towards being like, oh, okay, so if there's a spiritual component to this, this means we live in a spiritual realm, right? Which gives a lot more credibility to the idea that we are here for a purpose and we are more than we suppose ourselves to be,
Yeah.
more than this physical realm, more than just Camel the trader from London, right? Like more than we typically identify with.
Mm.
So yeah, man, I think we're in a super interesting time. And like I keep saying, but I think it's really important. I think the universe is organizing itself to wake people up to this idea. I don't think this is a unique discovery of mine. I think I was one of the many people that have made this same discovery around the same time. I think the universe has deliberately organized itself to make this information available to many people so that we are better able to accept whatever is coming next.
Yeah, 100%. Just listening to you talk about that just makes sense. Makes logical sense.
You can feel it, right?
Yeah.
Intuitively as well, I
Mm.
think. I can, at least.
Mm. Yeah, well, that's why I ended up talking about it.
Yeah.
Because like you
Yeah.
just like, okay, well, I've got an opportunity not to ignore something I need to express, and it comes from deep within. But it also makes sense because if it just the if anyone's still listening to this when they're listening to this podcast,
This is the juicy bit.
this is the juicy bit because just logically looking at it, if when you look at our lives in well, I can only talk my life. I can't talk about anyone else's life in a context, but my life. If you get up in the morning, you're you're propelled well, right from a young age. I'll cut this really short. You're propelled from a young age. Get on the hamster wheel. Consume. Could you like in this part of the world? Consume, work, pay your taxes. Consume, work, pay your taxes. Have a family if you want to. Get married if you want to. Do whatever. All that run of the mill, run of the mill. So you would never really have an opportunity to think anything else is going on because you're so entranced in that day-to-day hamster wheel stuff, which is what a lot of people have had to deal with for most of their lives. Now, if you dribble out this stuff on a consistent basis, which they seem to have done for a while now, and it's getting more and more and more, it allows the everyday people to just sit there and go, what? That ain't right. Same with finance, where people are saying, this doesn't feel right anymore. You know, living doesn't feel like living in the Western world. There's something wrong, you know, and then that starts to open up that channel of we're more than just a hamster on a wheel. And I suppose what I'm trying to say is that if any of that stuff wasn't going on, then we're just going to stay a hamster and never really evolve at all because we're disconnecting ourselves to what maybe the universe wanted us always to be, a part of that consciousness. It's so disconnected. And what I'm trying to say, it's so imbalanced. And now we've got to face the things that we don't like, you know, to realize who we are. And then those bits, this is going really way out there, those bits that we don't like are really us deep down in that consciousness. Thing is, we get a choice not to play those parts, you know, but it seems to be that that's been going on quite a bit in the background and it's outbalanced the the nicer side of life, the nicer side of love, the nicer side of the giving and being caring and not fucking abusing little babies, you know, or people as a rule. So yeah, I get it, mate. Sorry, that was a little bit deep. You probably know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, and yeah, I definitely something's going to happen.
Oh yeah, man, it is.
And it,
I think it's started to happen, and
yeah,
we haven't figured out what it is yet.
yeah. And I really don't think it's going to be about abundance of wealth.
No,
It's going to be abundance of wealth defined in a different way.
yeah,
The whole fact of what
I
wealth is really about.
I think it's going to be largely speaking, about increasing consciousness collectively. That's what I think it's going to be about.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be about learning that the way we've been running our civilization has gotten far detached from what we were intended to do.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Preparation for another dimension.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Get out this 3D world of ours. Or yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Or just let that split. Let the opportunity for people to split. Maybe.
I'm pretty sure aliens are going to land and be like, "We're pissed off.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Here's where you need to fix your weird animalistic behavior."
Yeah.
That's what I think is coming.
Yeah.
And I
Guess
know as
what?
I say this, I know it sounds mad. I was tell
Nice.
I was talking to my wife about this, and I was like, I sound schizophrenic, don't I? And she literally looked at me and she went, "You're right more often than you're wrong, Camel." And I was like, okay, all right. Well, she doesn't think I'm that mad yet. So, and then she was like, "When do you think?" I was like, "Next few months." And she was like, "Well, let's wait and see." I was like, okay.
Wonderful.
So, yeah. So we'll see, man. We'll see. But I'm pretty sure that's what's coming.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be absolutely wild. And it's mad because even as I say it, I'm like, do you realize what you're saying over the internet? Like, you shouldn't be saying these things. But I'm just so convinced, man. I'm so convinced. I guess, like anything, there's an invalidation, right? If we get to like March, April, and there's no aliens, then I'm flat wrong. But I'm pretty sure, man. I'm pretty sure. I think it's going to be intense.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's likely? Do you think I really have smoked too much crack? I don't know. Let me know what you think.
Right. Dude, I the, the one of the biggest problems I found in my life is that I'm the more I disconnect myself with unconventional thinking. What I mean by that is hamster wheel stuff. The more I do that, the more I feel at home. Now, how can I ignore that? And what does that actually mean? Does that make me a crackpot, like you like to say? Or does that actually mean that just maybe that all the little things that happen, all the little intuition things that happen, all the little signals that happen through your life that sometimes you ignore, sometimes you're ready to receive, have meaning. And I can let my imagination go wild. But when I don't let it go wild, I'm still left with the same conundrum. I feel it. When I actually when I can physically or mentally control my whole imagination, my whole physical being through meditation or whatever people do, but for me it's through meditation, something happens, and it's something that I cannot explain with words, expressions that we use in everyday life. It's something else. And I can't ignore that. And that's increasingly over the last 5 years, I would say, is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Where's that coming from? That's not, yeah, I could sit there and lots of people could say, well, it's just a thought in your head. Well, no, I've worked to eliminate thoughts in my head. Oh, yeah, maybe I'm still a crackpot. Maybe I'm imagining it, maybe, but it doesn't feel right when you take it away from your head and you concentrate with an ability to feel from your heart. And a lot of people go, oh my God, what are you going on about? Well, until you practice certain things and experience certain things, you probably wouldn't have any clue what I'm saying. But it's an experience. Um, um, and the experience is beyond words. It's stuff that how can you put a word to that? How can you explain that? Because it's so personal and deep from within. But many people experience it, but they can't express it in the common language of where we live. So that's universal. That's not, to me, that's not native to the planet Earth. And because I'm human, I'm entitled to experience that. That's something bigger than that. And that's why I get why people can get very religious and get very, whatever they follow. I get it. But to have that same euphoric feeling without having a label attached to it, any type of religion or cult, whatever, means it's coming from somewhere. Where's it coming from? It's bigger than this planet.
Yeah, for sure.
It's weird.
So weird.
Did that answer your question without going too over the top?
Nah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's weird, mate.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
weird. But the thing is when you talk about it, people want academic structure to the conversation. But sometimes there isn't that academic structure to it.
Yeah, and I particularly resonate with this because, as you
Mm.
know, I did a chemistry degree and was
Mm.
like it's kind of a bad term, but classically trained scientist, right? Went to work for the pharmaceutical industry. And yeah, man, even in my degree, even when I was doing my degree, I remember thinking we did for chemistry, we did a lot of quantum mechanics. And me and a couple of my classmates who were also my housemates, we used to talk about this for hours. We were like, none of it makes sense within the context that they were teaching it. They're teaching it from within a very sort of scientific approach, very rigid, structured. This is science. This is science. This is the rigid structure that we have. And yet, what they were teaching doesn't even fit inside of that framework. They're literally teaching that consciousness observes and fix particles, right? It fixes the state of things. And so we used to talk about this extensively. Like all of the stuff they were teaching us kind of implies that we don't even live in a real world. We live in some kind of simulated holography that only exists if consciousness is there to observe it. And then when you speak to your professor about this, the professor's like, no, 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 it's a very rigid, fixed structure. uh, so yeah, man, it's super weird. It's super, super weird. But I'm glad that I experienced that because over time it kind of gave me the building blocks to kind of think a little bit more outside the box on these kind of things. And I absolutely believe that there is a spiritual component to this whole realm. And I think more and more people are resonating with that in my experience. I don't think this is unique to me that in the last handful of years I suddenly started to look at life through a more spiritual lens and start to think that there's more to this world than there seems to be.
Yep.
I think that's quite a common kind of practice or quite a common experience, I should say, with a lot of people. I think a lot of people have been kind of woken up, for lack of a better term, in the last few years. And I don't
100%.
believe that's for nothing. I don't believe that's for nothing. I believe this is the universe, the creator, whatever you want to call it, organizing whatever the heck is going on here deliberately in a way to kind of push us towards whatever is coming next. That's what I think. It just makes a lot of sense to me. And I could
I
be wrong
agree.
for sure, but it makes a lot of sense to me. And I don't believe I'm the only one. I'm sure there will be some people that listen to this that go, this is mental. And I'm sure there will also be some people that listen to this and go, I absolutely agree. Because I believe that it is being shifted in that direction.
Yep. Here, bro. This is just a podcast on its own.
This is way out there. Like, we're
What?
putting the weight in the
Way
title.
out there. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
we are putting the weight in the title today.
That's just so want those conversations. Dude, I'm gonna have to wrap that up.
It is 10 o'clock. Is this a 4 hour? Did you go for 4 hours?
6:30 I started.
Oh, wow. Nearly three and a
Although it
half.
was it was very on and off at the beginning because no one was here.
Okay.
So it was like pause, pause. But again, would it have led to that conversation we just had for half an hour? 1
Who
hour?
knows? I need to listen to it back. I'm worried to listen to it back.
Oh no, never be worried.
I'm sure it's fine.
Never be worried. We'll have to do one just on this subject and really dig deep into it. It'd be interesting. Anyone watched it this far? Let us know in the comments. Would you like me and Camel to go even way out there even more?
I'd like to have another crack at it after less rum. I think
Ah,
that would be good.
well, I don't know. The rum sometimes can instigate it all, can't it?
Yeah,
Brings it
but
out.
I
Brings it
think
out.
might be able to organize my thoughts a little better.
Got to have the water. Dude, as always, thank you so much. I really enjoy these conversations on a Sunday. That hasn't been disappointing. That was meant, that one.
We went
Uh,
way out there for sure.
oh yeah, I could go even further. But to me, that isn't way out there. That's just normal. It's
Yeah,
weird.
same here. Yeah, same here.
It's
I'm
weird.
thinking too much about like the people that are going to watch this back,
Oh, doesn't matter.
but I guess it doesn't change much.
The people that don't want to hear it won't hear it.
True.
People
Do you
that
know
want
what? Do you
to,
know the funniest thing? I'm sure people will resonate with it, which makes no sense because it is so abstract. But I'm sure people will resonate with it because the universe, as I said a million times, is organizing itself for whatever is coming next.
we need it.
Yeah,
Humanity needs something to change.
it's gonna be here in the next couple of months. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you.
Keep a lookout.
Yeah.
That's interesting, dude. I'm gonna wrap
We'll
it up.
see. Yeah, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Mate, anytime, anytime. There was other stuff I wanted to ask you, but I'd have to save it for next week probably. But
Oh, what is it? Go on, do a quick fire.
I know there was just some stuff about what would you like I was hoping a few more people would be on, but I was going to say like, what do you like to see more of on the podcast, and
Okay.
what could we do more of? But we'll do that another time. That's fine.
Yeah, we'll have a think. We'll have a think.
Hmm. If you want to carry on the conversation, I will do with you after I've made a cup of tea on the phone. But that's up to you.
It's up to you. I'll have a cigarette and then yeah, if you want to call me, call me.
I'll ring you.
Oh,
All right, but
actually, wait, I think my phone's got no battery.
okay, I won't call you.
Wait, I can stay on Zoom if you want.
I've got to move, mate, because I'm
Right,
literally
I'll pop it on charge now, and then by the time I've had a cigarette, if you want to call me, call me.
okay. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much. Take care, everyone. Please
Yeah.
like, share, subscribe, do all the normal stuff.
Become a member.
And yeah, please become a member because you can come on and have these crazy chats with us. Take care, bud.
Thank you, mate.
No worries. See you later.
Uncle Andy. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, dude.
Cheers. Bye.